Hello, everybody, and I am still getting ready and still getting organized, and welcome to the show. This is Fundamentalist Failed, and my favorite day is Friday, although the title of this could easily be summed up as what idiot told sorry, just 1 second. I'm just gonna fix this camera. Just a bit of a switch. Which idiot taught Kent Hovind's son precept? Like, seriously, this is actually hilarious at how bad it is. It's so bad. I don't have words for how bad it is. Some fantastic people out there today. We have Captive Desk, Dave, doing fantastic. I hope you're well. I really do. It's good to see you, Dave. Marty out there, left-handed Jedi, the Jedi Master as usual. How do you do, didgeridoo? Hey, Devian, so good to see you. The Apostate Sisters, so that is Patty getting on the action. Hi, Patty. Andrew and Tilted Wilmo and the Shaken Fist. Beautiful. Yeah, so this is a bit of a weird one. I cut down on this video significantly. Like I picked it apart to just get to the what could only be charitably called the meat of this video. Oh, you hit 500? Oh, congratulations, Dave. That's fantastic, mate. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you might need head protection for the face palm, but you know, I feel like of all the people I've seen doing precept, I mean, it is terrible. But I will start it because it turned out to be a bit of a longer one. So I really want to get into this, but I'll sort of explain why it's hilarious. And so we've got you know, let's call him Donnie Durpo from Standing for Truth here. You know, yeah, Dave, let me drop a link. So if you're not subscribed to Captive Desk, he does interviews, he does reviews occasionally. I think you do more interviews and stuff than reviews, but Captive Desk is good. Unfortunately, he keeps streaming when I'm not around, but that's okay. I forgive him because I am on the other side of the world. The Captive Desk. There you are. Ooh, oh, thank you so much, Deviant. I just was getting that. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with these two terrors of logic, these two you know, paradigms of intellect here. The guy on the left is Donnie Badinsky. He is a he is a ex-car salesman turned expert on endogenous retroviruses that wrote a book on them, and sort of apologist. And he does interviews, he does debate. I've been on there debating a while. I haven't had an offer from a debate from Donnie. He's like, oh, we've got to get you on. Apparently no one over there wants to debate me, so who knows. There's an Eric Hovind is Kent Hovind's son. So yeah. And let me tell you, he if Kent Homer did precept, that's what he sounds like. But this video is basically how to blow an atheist mind. Okay, so keep that in mind if you can while it is being blown. Okay, this is going to blow your mind. Right? This is it's actually hilarious at how unblown my mind was after watching this. But you know, strap in and strap on, presumably. This is going to be some mind-blowing stuff because, oh boy, has Hovind cracked the code. He's cracked the code, people. He's going to give all the apologists the keys to the kingdom. The keys to the kingdom. I'm just going to put some bogan logic in chat there. Some bogan logic because, oh boy, it's pretty bad. yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, I've heard bad, and this is getting to the hilarious side of bad. And what's even hilarious is just how enthusiastic and just how much he thinks he's got a checkmate atheist in the bag. It's in the bag. Hi, Beerius. Good to see you. Andrew, did I say hello to you, Andrew? I hope so. Tenebris, good to see you. Deviant, of course. It's not a real stream without Deviant. Yeah, it's good to see everybody here. But I want to start this and get... Well, yeah, no, Tenebris, I get what you're saying, yes. You know what? I don't think so. I think that Dottie's like, okay, so Donnie's making a killing off people that you know will just nom 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 eat up all of the stuff that he puts out, even though it's absolutely nonsense. So maybe he's smarter than we give him credit for. Captive Desk gifted 5 readerships. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate it. Let's go. Sterling Nash, Uncle Charlie, Al Trucker, Darren Delaney, and Bidge Thinker. Thank you. Please enjoy your emotes and other benefits. Winners, chicken dinners, everybody. Thank you so much, Dave. I really appreciate that, mate. Woo! Dottie Badinsky, Butinsky. Okay, I don't know. That doesn't work. But I'm gonna call him Donnie Durpo all throughout this. You know, like Donnie Darko, but a lot less intelligent. Standing for lies. Yeah, no, I've heard all the things. I'd call him Dodgy Donnie sometimes. Dodgy Donnie Durpo. What else is he called? He's called other stuff as well. I don't know. I like Dottie as a person. I just disagree with him a lot, and I think I don't know. I think that he says a lot of stuff. Donnie Deals. Yeah, Kalasia's got it. Donnie Deals. That's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, Donnie Deals. Yeah. Dodgy Donnie Deals. But you know, I like the guy, even though I disagree with what he's doing, and he shovels so much crap. Like, seriously, so much.
Give us a sneak preview into what we are going to be discussing today. What do you mean by an atheist mind and how to blow an atheist mind?
Oh, yeah. Get ready, people. Your mind will be blown.
It's a title designed to say, look, I got something here that is really powerful. I was first exposed to these concepts after growing up. I mean, I grew up in, the home of Dr. Kent Hovind, one of the most...
I'm sorry that happened to you. Like, really. Yeah, no, I get you, Yudif. I get you. It's just, I don't know.
Famous creation science evangelist that was out there speaking in the 90s and early 2000s. And I started in 1999 traveling to speak. And I kept asking myself, what's the bottom line? Because I could give all this evidence, I could give all this information, I could show the evolutionists, the fossils, and say, guys, do you know what this means? Do you know that they find these on top of mountains? Do you know?
Yeah, we know we find them on top of mountains. Yes. So this is coming from his dad. His dad, Kent Hovind, says, "Oh, there's fossils on top of mountains." Yeah, it's called the movement of the tectonic plates, sir. We're very aware of that. Like. Yeah, even Eric Hovind doesn't. Well, he won't even say his name. That's the thing. Like, but he'll sort of still lean on his credentials to say, "Hey, I was raised by a famous, creationist that used to go around." Like, we're very aware that we find fossils, but like, he's like, "Do you know what this means?" Yeah, the tectonic plates move, but you want to make it mean, "Oh, well, the flood happened." No. If the flood happened, we would find them literally everywhere, and we don't. That's the whole point. Yeah.
What did they find? All this biological material still in fossils that should not exist after millions of years. And
okay, so that's the Mary Schweitzer thing that should not exist. No, that's not. Mary Schweitzer is not saying it's a young Earth. It's just under certain conditions, organic cells and organic material. I guess I shouldn't say cells because there was no cells. There was just basically mostly sort of fossilized cartilage and things like cartilaginous tissue. It wasn't like it. Yeah. He's misrepresenting the Schweitzer work, which like changed our view of how long things could last for in the fossilization process, but it didn't suddenly, disprove, the billions of years it took to get here. Like it doesn't.
From fact after fact after fact. And it didn't matter if it was from geology or paleontology or archaeology or astronomy. It seemed like no matter where I went, they just kind of always dismissed the evidence and had their own little, well, we think that's because of this. And well, we interpret that this way. And there was always what I call a rescuing device. And it was actually.
So this is where Donnie got his rescue device from, what I called a rescuing device. No, there's no rescuing device. There's just where the evidence points to. The reason why these guys don't follow the evidence where it leads is because where it leads is away from their fundamentalist view. And it's very interesting that they'll sort of say this because, when we find things like endogenous retroviruses, they're like, well, they can't be, that's God created them. Like, really? Is that where it's pointing? Is that where the evidence is pointing? Or is that where you want it to lead? This is ironic. And I'm gonna throw a few. Oh, Al, you can thank Dave for that one, mate. Dave dropped a quintet, mate. Thank Dave for that one, buddy. Hello, it's a readership. Thank you. You get it right, Al. You get it right. It's a readership. Unput the irony in. Oh, no worries, Al. If you're driving, then you be as rude as you want. That's fine. That's fine.
One of the guys that did work with the movie Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, he said, I forget who it was, but he said, evolution is the fog that will fit any landscape.
Yeah, they have to, Jedi. They have to. That's Mary Schweitzer. If you're unaware, she put out a paper on finding in this Tyrannosaurus fossil cartilage that was basically, it was sort of, I can't remember what it was. Give me 1 second. It was sort of cartilaginous tissue that was in way better shape than we thought it could be, but she still had to like drown it in acid and sort of, for it to even to be usable. Like it was in, she sort of proved that our view of how long organic material can last blew it out of the water in certain conditions. That's the thing. In certain very, very, very specific conditions. So it's basically been hijacked by young Earth creationists. Yeah, it was a Tyrannosaurus Rex found in Montana. Schweitzer, one of the first scientists to use the tools of modern cell biology to study dinosaurs, and upended the conventional wisdom by showing some of the rock-hard fossils tens of millions of years old may have remnants of soft tissues hidden away in their interiors. The reason why it hasn't been discovered before is no right-thinking paleontologist would do what Mary did with her specimens. We don't go to all this effort to dig stuff out of the ground, then destroy it in acid. It's great science. Yeah, it is great science. The observations could shed new light on how dinosaurs evolved, how they've been. So she basically came out and said that. But she basically prove that they can last a fairly long time. So, it still doesn't give them their 6,000 years or whatever. It's ridiculous.
because they've already come to the conclusion evolution is true, and now they just are making the science fit it. So it literally will lay on top of no matter what the landscape of the science says.
So there's the irony for you, right? Like he says, okay, and remember this, he says they've already come to their evolution conclusion, and then they'll lay the science on top of it. So he's the one misrepresenting someone to say, hey, she's in a conspiracy to, like, she's the one that published the research, and oh, she's in a conspiracy to say that the earth is old. No, she's not. There's no conspiracy there.
And I'm looking at the science going, guys, you have to rewrite evolution. But since I wasn't getting, it's not that I wasn't getting traction, because there's a lot of people that changed their mind. There's a lot of people that are going, okay, wait, you're right. Wow, when we look at fossils, you guys had Brian on, Dr. Brian Thomas, our friend Dr. Brian, last night, and he did such a good job of going, look, the fossils in the fossil record, they could not have formed over millions of years.
Right.
And I found myself going, what is it after all this information, after all this evidence, after arguing with these people ad nauseum? I mean, I was that guy till 2 and 3 in the morning debating online with skeptics. Why are they still skeptics when they don't have the evidence? When they don't?
They do have the evidence, Eric. It's just you're not, like, you're listening to your side and not actually reading the scientific published papers. If you have all of this evidence, publish it. Get your guys to publish it. And that's what drives me crazy. That all of these people say they have such overwhelming evidence, and the only place they publish is in their little, creation journals, because they know that the science will never get through peer review. It will never get through it. It's so bad. And when people go and look, that's why creation research isn't accredited. It's not because they've got something against it. It's because the science they do is freaking terrible. It's terrible. Like that guy and his zircon halos kind of thing. Like, it's absolutely awful. You know, the way they do geological samples is absolutely awful. Just terrible. And then they want to be taken seriously. Of course they're not.
Have the information. And it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point from Jedi. People have to sign statements of faith in these creation journals. Nobody's making people sign statements of faith in the scientific journals, but they have to sign statements of faith in these creationist journals. That's very telling, and that's a really good point, Jedi.
It made me discover what I'm going to present tonight. Found it through a website, proofthatgodexists.org was.
Oh yeah, sounds really reputable. Proofgodexists.org. So I did the madness thing and looked up this website. I'll show you this website because it's actually quite funny, right? Share this tab. So about this, this is Sci-10 Garden, Sci-10 Bruggenkate's website, right? This is the proof. Truth. Absolute truth exists. Absolute truth does not exist. And look, if you put absolute truth does not exist, absolutely true. No, that's like this is what he does in person and thinks it's the best gotcha ever. Why is that absolutely true? Why isn't there just a thing of true? What do you believe? Just true. I don't want to click absolutely true because I just said absolute truth doesn't exist. I just think that's true. So he thinks this is the biggest gotcha that ever flew. So somehow the idiocy of Sci-10 Bruggenkate, Eric Hovind's got hold of that, because this is stupid, right? Like, I'm not saying that it's absolutely true that absolute truth does not exist. I just think it's true. Like, why the absolutely here? Because it helps his little gotcha here. He does this in person. It's so stupid. I've met Sci-10 Bruggenkate. I've argued with him. He absolutely just goes into circular argument and breaks down. Like, he absolutely breaks down. I have a video on my channel where I engage with him. He basically says, I'm right because God. And how do I know God's right? Because God. That's it. That's his entire argument. It is so bad. Like, so bad. But yeah, that's his website. So this is Eric Hovind finding Saiten Bruggencate and thinking he's onto a winner, mate, even though Saiten is not, like, no philosophical, like, nobody respects the guy. Like, seriously, he's one of the worst apologists ever.
The first time I was exposed to this concept, and I thought, this is different than what I've ever done. And I realized, wow, there is a way to get down to the floor, the very basics of God.
What's your foundation for intelligibility? Like, this is basically it. Get down to the foundation. What's your foundation for intelligibility?
God and of the creation evolution.
Nobody send him a link for Darth Dawkins, okay? Please. Nobody send him that link, please.
Debate and of knowledge, epistemology. How do we know things? There's a way to get down to the floor that.
No. How do we know things, right? Like, that's what he said, epistemology. Now, Eric Hovind is not a philosopher, right? That is not his background. He's found Saiten. Saiten's convinced him, why are you arguing with these atheists? They need our worldview. And he's swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. It's really sad. Like, I think that any last respect for Eric Hovind has dropped away. And I'll explain why when he gets to his mind-blowing proof. Spoiler, it blew nobody's mind.
Undermines everything and sets up Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God like no other.
Amen.
And so that's kind of my concept behind here is how do I take anybody, no matter where they're at, and make them realize, wow, I've only got one option.
Okay, so the one thing I'll give Donnie respect for, he's never used a pre-sup argument, right? Like, Donnie isn't a pre-sup, but he swims in those schools, right? He swims with those fishes because he's got, as sort of a co-host, he's got what's his name? What's that dude's name? The redefined living or something. The Sam guy that you know just makes an ass out of himself every time he opens his mouth. Is it the Sam guy that with him? So he does sort of. He's got this pen pal relationship with them, but I've never heard him say a pre-sup argument. I think that Donnie's smart enough to be embarrassed when, you know, pre-sup comes up. And I'll have to watch Donnie closely because this will give away a lot.
It's God. To go the not God route, the atheist route.
No, I don't think so. So a lot of them are evidentialists. So they're kind of like, well, like, don't forget that even if you think that the Holy Spirit moved within you and that's why you believe, that's an evidentialist claim. Pre-sup is very, very particular. It is basically you automatically assume that God is required for something that you think is transcendent, like morality or intelligibility or coherence in the universe, or, you know, the laws of it. Pre-sup is very, very specific, and I don't think that is necessary. You know, it's a very, very hard line, nonsensical position, because all it does is beg the question. All it does is say, hey, God exists because God exists. It really is that bad. It's absolutely terrible.
The atheist, the not theist route, that lands us in absurdity. Like, it's true when the Bible says it's the fool that says there's no God. It's like, that's a reality. It's true. It's foolish to say that. And I think what I do in this.
Yeah, so you're basically just calling all atheists fools because they don't believe in your God. What about other people that don't believe in the Bible? What about people that believe in multiple gods, like a pantheon? Like, you're just basically saying, hey, my book says that you're an idiot because you don't believe. Okay. What's convincing about that? People that believed in your God says people that don't believe in their God are foolish. Okay. Oh, I didn't see that, Chrissy. That sounds awesome. Shitty knockoff movies. Okay.
In this conversation, at least I hope what I do for you guys listening is get you to realize, wow, you really do have to start with God before you get anywhere. You can't. The idea of not starting with God
You can't start with God in epistemology, right? So the whole point about epistemology is what you're doing is saying, okay, how do I get from you have to start with your own mind, right? Because that is what is doing the thinking. Okay, so this is really important, and it's something that precepts miss all the time, because it is your mind doing it is the one being aware of things. What epistemology is basically saying is, how do I get from my mind to this thing, right? So if I have to go through my senses, I need evidence for it. You can't start with God unless you are that God, right? Like, unless you are in fact that God, you can't start with it, because you have to start with your own mind, because that is what is bringing up these concepts for you. So you can go, okay, well, there's my mind. How do I get to the God, right? You might say, and an evidentialist might say, hey, you feel the Holy Spirit move in you, however they do it, I don't know. You have an experience with God, you read the Bible, all of these things are, well, you've got your mind, which is the seat of consciousness. You are basically going, well, how do I get to whatever it is that I want to? Why should I believe these things, and why should I not believe these things? Unless you are the God, you can't start with the God, because then you're missing a step. You're not starting with your own consciousness, which is the thing currently thinking about it. You are going, well, I'm going to just start over here with God. Okay, well, why can't I start with, Jupiter? Because that's not where your consciousness is. You've got to link that in to your starting point. Your starting point is consciousness. So it's so bad that they're just basically going, well, I'm going to start with the God. Great, I'm going to start with the dragon. How? I don't get it. It's so weird.
Doesn't even make sense. It's like if God didn't exist, you wouldn't either. It's kind of the basics of it. And truth wouldn't either, and logic wouldn't either, and math wouldn't either. And we wouldn't have anything if we didn't start with God. So
yeah, that's weird to neighbors. I wouldn't put it past you. Look, Donnie's got really, really zealous mods, basically. His mods will ban and kick and stuff at the slightest provocation. Like the slightest provocation. I outline exactly what the conditions are for my mods. I'll say, hey, I backed my mods, but they understand, people like Deviant Outcast and Titan Uranus and all of those, they understand, hey, no preaching, no proselytizing, don't be rude. And, if they're just having conversations, disagree with me, that's fine. If they're disruptive, warn them, time them out. If they're going to be disruptive or very rude, ban them. Like, they understand that. Donnie's so Donnie, I think he has, outlined no blasphemy and stuff, but the problem is what comprises blasphemy, right? Like, this is the problem. Blasphemy to them is sort of can be extended to any disagreement. I got timed out for putting in WTF, right? And they're like, oh, you're swearing. And it's like, I didn't swear. And they said, oh, yeah, but you put the initials for swear. It's like, it was so I didn't swear. Like, but the thing is that Donnie's like, oh, don't time Mark out because he's a guest on my channel. But I while I'm happy that, he does that, if I wasn't a guest on his channel, I'd be timed out ages ago. Yeah, right, Jedi. Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with my conclusion and work backwards. And that's what I want to tie up with. Remember I said earlier, remember that he said that evolution starts that evolution is true and then fits everything to it, which is not what happened for us to find evolution, by the way. Evolution was not accepted in the scientific community at first. We had to gather the evidence for it and have been doing so ever since. But the irony is that he is literally going, well, you start with the conclusion that you want to make, which is God. Yeah. Yeah. Hi, Tori. Hey, Jin. Birius, good to see you. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Tenebris. Hi, Jin. I don't know. I just feel like if I wasn't a guest on, yeah, you're absolutely right, Bester. Absolutely. Pre-supper, the shadow end of the kiddie pool of philosophy. I don't know. I don't even think that it would make it into the pool of philosophy at all. Like it really isn't, it really is, like even the very start of it is just, begging the question, a logical fallacy straight out of the gate with absolutely no attempt to, sort of help. Oh, I'm so sorry. Left-handed Jedi for $5. A day without blasphemy is like a day without sunshine. Look, okay, it gets hot over here. Sometimes I like a day without sunshine. Look, I wasn't, I'm sure Tenebris wasn't trying to do blasphemy, and I wasn't trying to be blasphemous. It's just that we disagree, and we will present evidence and sort of arguments about why we disagree. But they find any challenge to their religion blasphemous. Like it's just blasphemous if you don't agree. Like I've seen channels that have kicked people out for simply saying God doesn't exist. Oh, that's blasphemy. We don't allow blasphemy here, But thank you so much, Jedi. It is, I always like a good blaspheme in the morning. Look, this is the thing. If you just follow your religion, you're blaspheming against somebody else's. That's the whole thing. Like if you're doing Christianity, it's a blasphemy against, Islam. There's no real way to I just don't. I feel like if God wants to stop people blaspheming, he could do so pretty easily. Yeah, absolutely, Tori. And I mean, I don't try to blaspheme. Like, I don't try to, say, I try to respect the rules of Christian rooms, because here's the thing. Chris Mallard asked me, like, why would you, respect their rules? And it's like, because I want them to respect mine. So if I want them to respect mine, I've got to respect theirs. At the same time, I think that some of them take blasphemy to an extreme. Blasphemy doesn't exist in paganism. Oh, that's interesting. Probably not. It's a very sort of Abrahamic idea, I think most polytheistic religions don't really go for the blasphemy because they've got multiple gods kind of thing. Celebrating with some Four Roses small batch select bourbon. I don't know what that is. I hope there's no tariff on it, Birius. I hope there's no tariff. I'll just say that. Man, tariffs, 100 what's the Chinese one up to? Something crazy? I don't know. It's so
I use that to close the mouth. The Bible talks about, am I going too long? Before I get
You're doing great. You're getting me that much more
way too long, Eric. Way too long. Get out of here.
pumped for your presentation.
I am, man. I'm like, this is good because the Bible talks about casting down things that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God. It talks about closing the mouth of those that argue against the truth of God. And I'm like, this closes down the argument. It shuts it down. You don't need anything after this. It's done.
Yeah. So the question is whether it closes the mouth of the, believe 850,000. Yeah, that's what it's up to. 145%. Jin. Oh wow. I just like these tariffs hurt America more than they do China. China doesn't want them, but at the same time, it's like so the question is, does it close their mouths, right? Like they close the mouths of the unbeliever, which is, a lot of Christians, they want to hear that because as far as logic and reasoning goes, they're kind of getting the short end of the stick, right? If you're an evidentialist, it's really hard to support the young earth creationist position. Like considering the amount, the sheer weight of evidence we have for all of these things, the sheer amount of evidence for evolution that is out there is incredible. the sheer amount of evidence for the geologic column. And again, we're not making scientists, sign statements of faith in our institutions as opposed to the creationist ones, or the young earth creationist, I should say. And there's great Christian science organizations out there, like BioLogos does really good work. They're all God believers. They accept science totally. Hey, no problem whatsoever. They're not lying about science. That's what they're doing. Look, that doesn't close people's mouths. And listen to what he says next. This is what he says.
It's over, capiche. They are toast after you understand, after you ask them. I got 5 questions I want to give you guys to ask a skeptic. So in this, I'll give you the 5 questions I ask all the time to skeptics. I want you to realize the philosophy, the mindset behind the questions, why these are powerful.
Again, Eric is not a philosopher. He is not a philosopher. I dabble in philosophy. I have read up a fair bit on philosophy. I try to do so when I can, but I am so much more versed in philosophy than Eric is. You'll understand once you see this. You really will.
And then literally How to Blow the Atheist Mind, where they have nothing else to say. They may keep talking. Their mouth may keep moving, but everything coming out is going to be gibberish after you understand this truth. It's
so that isn't that you've closed the mouth of the unbeliever. You've just convinced yourself that they've got nothing more to say. Those are 2 totally different things, right? On one side, you've gone, well, this is my proof. And this comes a lot from Cy-Ten Bruggencate, who thinks that if he presents his amazing arguments, that they don't have anything to say anymore, even though they do, and are explaining why his arguments are completely fallacious. He just convinces himself that he's done a hole in one, it's all over, and it's like, but it's not. And your arguments are fallacious. But he convinces himself that, hey, that's the final word. I've won. That doesn't mean you've actually presented a good argument or won anything. You've just convinced yourself. And so we've got to pay attention to this self-delusion, this idea that, hey, if I give this argument, you will have nothing else to say, even though they're saying stuff. But you've just turned your mind off because you've convinced yourself that you've had the final word on this amazing argument that blew everybody's mind. Oh, yeah, he's confident. He's absolutely confident. And this is what I want to get across, that with pre-sup, it isn't important to give a reasoned argument or something that isn't fallacious. The important part about pre-sup is convincing yourself, right? Actually trying to convince yourself that there is no argument for no opposition to your argument. You convince yourself it is true because it's true, because it's true, because it's true, because it's true. That doesn't get you to truth, right? That doesn't make you right. It just means you can't admit that you could even possibly be wrong. And that's the hallmark of a good thinker. They could say, hey, I could be wrong if these things were different. The pre-sup won't do that. They will say, I am right, hell or high water. There is no possibility of me being wrong. There's no possibility of me being wrong. There's no possibility of me being wrong. They delude themselves. They convince themselves there is no possibility that they're wrong, and therefore they're right. That doesn't make you right, no matter how hard you believe it. It doesn't make you right. It just means you think you can't be wrong. You've deluded yourself into thinking that you can't be wrong. And it's a worry, because that is dogmatic. It doesn't rely on evidence. It just relies on you convincing yourself there's no possible way you can be wrong.
It's powerful. We break down.
I skipped a whole bunch of stuff. He went on about his family and how his nephew or something can't get Instagram followers. I skipped out a whole lot because seriously, it was incredibly boring. And he goes to the creationist versus evolutionists. Evolutionist, yeah, okay, that's a thing. Timeline. This is just a scientific timeline, and to hear the reasons why this can't be true is just Eric, why are you such a thinker?
On the overall picture of the world, the two different ways to see the world, into these two worldviews. You got the creationist worldview and you got the evolutionist worldview. And I put on the screen here, I put a timeline to kind of show you exactly what each one teaches. The creationist worldview says that about 6,000 years ago, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, I don't put an exact date on it. You know, Scofield in the old, I don't have it with me, but there's the old Scofield Reference Bible had in the margins, Adam was made October 23rd, 4004 BC at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You cannot get that close from Scripture, not even using James Ussher's work, the Adam Start of History. You can't get that close.
Oh, the people have tried, though. Absolutely tried. That is true, Tenebris. It is a false dichotomy. I think these are... I think these are the two prevalent views, though. I get what you mean. Yeah, like both of these could be wrong. Like, totally understand. But I think that, you know, I think that these are the two prevalent views out there. Obviously, the bottom one, I would rather say the scientific timeline, because it's really just, you know, what we found from all facets of science, not just biology. It's not just evolution. It's also geology. It's also paleontology. It's also there's a ton of different disciplines that all match up, you know, like all match up. I think that so yeah, it's a false dichotomy. Yes. All right, no worries, Tori. You take care. Yeah, sorry you have to get back on the floor. That sucks. But yeah, you're always welcome. Take care. You know, yeah.
So we don't have an exact date on that. And as my dad would say, all we know is that Adam was made in the afternoon because it was just before Eve. And that's the only clue in Scripture we've got about when Adam was made. But about 6,000 years ago. And that's based on the dates in Scripture. So that's based on the genealogies. You got Genesis 5, Genesis 11, going through the genealogies. And there's other places that give us.
Yeah, that's how Ussher basically made the 6,000 years old. It's because he added up all of the supposed ages of these people and said, yep, that's when the earth was made. It's not exactly scientific. Yeah.
Genealogies to show that from Adam to Abraham, there's about 2,000 years. From Abraham to Jesus, it's about 2,000 years. And from Jesus to today is about 2,000 years. The next big event on the timeline was the worldwide flood. That's 4,400 years ago from today.
Yeah, there's no worldwide flood. There's a ton of evidence to suggest it did not happen. Hey, look, I look like I'm part of Donnie's panel here. This is awesome. I do like this. I feel like I'm on the team. I'm on Team Creationist at the moment. No, I'm not really. Please, no, don't unsubscribe.
2,000 years ago is when Jesus Christ was here, and now here we are today waiting for the return of Christ. We compare that to this evolutionary worldview. The evolutionary worldview says that anywhere between 13 and 20 billion years ago, there was a Big Bang. Now, I don't know if you've studied this or not, but let me just tell you, and I'm not making...
Are you ready for his amazing evidence against the Big Bang? Amazing evidence against the Big Bang. Are you ready? Brace yourselves.
This is literally from the science textbooks, from the scientific literature. What they say exploded. Like when the Big Bang took place, and I know the Big Bang was made up by a journalist, but this concept that the universe poofed into existence, we'll just go with the Big Bang because that's what we're familiar with. When it banged, they say that nothing is what exploded. I'm not making that up. I mean, that's literally their whole point is nothing exploded and created everything we see in the universe. Donnie.
Okay, so number one, if you're gonna sort of cite scientific literature, be precise. So nothing didn't explode. It's not an explosion. It's a rapid expansion. That's number one. Just a little point. Like it wasn't that it exploded. It's a rapid expansion. Nobody's saying it poofed into existence. And so basically this whole, oh, well, it came from nothing thing, it basically goes back to a book that Lawrence Krauss put out, which was A Universe from Nothing. So essentially what it was what he was calling nothing, right? So the name of nothing, he was applying to a quantum field with no space-time, no matter, and no energy. Okay, so because in our universe, anything with energy is basically something, he was calling it nothing. But it wasn't a philosophical no thing. It wasn't an absence of anything whatsoever. It basically was, I believe it was called quantum foam. And so I don't know what this is, just a massive straw man. So he appears to have got the inherited the scarecrow straw man maker from his dad, because this is just a straw man. That's all it is. It didn't explode. There may have been something before the Big Bang, but if there was no space-time, we don't know what that is. And, sort of maths points to there maybe being quantum foam, but it may have been something else. We don't know. That's the whole point. And Lawrence Krauss was putting out a book about how a quantum vacuum could actually create something. It could form into something. So all of this is sort of, straw man central. Just we've heard it all before. You think something came from nothing. Well, it depends on what, like, if you mean nothing as in quantum vacuum, then yeah. But that's not what they're talking about. Like, yeah. Correct. Yeah. It was. I think it was Fred Hoyle, but look, he was trying to mock it basically, and it's sort of that name caught on.
Have you ever watched what's that show? It's a show where the guy pitches movies. They've already been done, but he pretends like he's giving it's pitch meeting or something like that.
Oh yeah,
have you ever
on YouTube. Yeah, pitch meeting.
You've seen it.
Oh yeah,
dude,
they're hilarious.
This is what I feel like evolutionists are doing all the time. It's a minor inconvenience. Oh yeah, no problem. Well, wouldn't this? And they're breaking the plot down and showing your plot doesn't work. And
well, no, it's not a minor inconvenience. The fact that sort of our understanding of physics breaks down towards the start of the Big Bang, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. It means that we don't know what was there before it. I don't know. It's very strange that they're sort of, oh well, it's a minor inconvenience. Well, no, like we're basically describing only what we can figure out. Nothing could, J Max says, nothing could mean there isn't anything that satisfied the conditions, and then someone like Graham Oppie's view is compatible. There's just a necessary initial state that didn't come from a prior. Right. So if we're talking, or Alyssa Ney's quantum wave function view, yeah, so if we're talking that space-time originated with the Big Bang, saying what was before the Big Bang is a nonsensical question. If there's no time before it, before isn't a thing. It's in an atemporal state. It has no time for anything to be before. So, we don't know for sure. We're not the ones saying that we know that the universe came from nothing. We're not saying that. All Lawrence Krauss did is basically present a plausible way that a universe could form from a state which has no matter, no energy, and no space-time, right? So just a quantum state, right? That's what he presented, the plausible way. We're not saying we know that for a fact, and we know where the universe comes from now. We aren't the ones saying that. They're the ones saying, hey, and like if Eric's gonna straw man, I can straw man too. My magic sky daddy spoke it into existence with an incantation, abracadabra, and suddenly the universe was there. He waved his magic wand. Come on now. We're not the ones saying that we know where the universe came from. You guys are. You've got to show that.
I know. Why are we really doing this? Money. Oh yeah, money. So I feel like we should put a pitch meeting together for evolution. Like, why are we really doing this? That actually, Donnie, we need to do that. That would be a great idea.
We're definitely going to do that because I love.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get all of the science behind the Big Bang. The background radiation. I'm sure you'll get sort of all of the evidence behind it together. Hubble's law, that I couldn't remember who Hubble was. I'm sorry. My brain just broke from the stupidity of this argument. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This did blow my mind. It blew my mind with how stupid this argument is. It absolutely did.
Those pictures. It's barely an inconvenience.
It's barely an inconvenience. Yeah.
From nothing.
No, it's very inconvenient. It's very inconvenient that our physics literally break and we can't use them before like one Planck epoch after the presumed singularity. Like, it's very inconvenient. J-Mac says, to me, I'm fine with there being a previous explanation for each event ad infinitum. Yeah, there's nothing that, so infinite regress is it's sort of, it's counterintuitive, but there's nothing saying that it can't be a thing. So I don't, we don't know. That's the whole point. Or initial state, yeah, that view would have a beginning but no cause. So the first premise of the Kalam would be rejected in favor of better causal principle. Absolutely, yeah. And that's what I say when people bring up the Kalam. Like, for a start, I'm not sure the universe had a beginning because we cannot use our current understanding to analyze the presumed beginning or the beginning of the Big Bang. It seems to be beyond our capacity at the moment. There might be a time earlier. So I don't know that's true for sure, that the universe had began to exist. And I think it was interesting that when you say begin to exist, what do you mean by begin to exist? Like, does a ship begin to exist? If a ship begins to exist, if you sort of, does it begin to exist when the hull's done, when the mast is on, when it's fully completed, when it sails out? Like, this thing is just a change of state from what is already there. So we haven't really seen anything begin to exist. We have just given it that beginning, but that's different than causal relationships. I get it. But, we don't really, like, when we say the ship begins to exist, like if we sail it out and realize we've forgotten the anchor, was it not a ship for that time? No. Wimmo says, look nice, simple, and rounded. Their book says it all is. The science is messy and unclear and difficult to understand. Yeah, but the science has the great benefit of being true and the best available explanation that, doesn't just appeal to things that can't be demonstrated. So, yeah, I'd rather go with the science and not know than have an answer that is wrong. Because if you just jump at the easiest solution, you will probably get the wrong answer.
Aren't people going to wonder when we say that nothing exploded and created the whole universe? A minor inconvenience. Okay, right. Let's go with it. That's going to be good, man. So,
well, no, if you understand what he's talking about when he's saying nothing that isn't what you think it is, it's not a minor inconvenience. It is, how do we get from a quantum vacuum state or a quantum plasma to stuff, right? That's all he's sort of saying.
You have this minor inconvenience of nothing exploded and created everything. He's like, that doesn't make sense, but that's what they're going to say. And they literally say that. The singularity that came from nowhere, created the entire universe. And they try to use quantum physics and things like that.
Well, we don't know 100% there was a singularity. Like that's, we presume there was because that's what it should form when that amount of matter is compressed. But yeah, as I said, like, we have a number of unknowns in this equation, but we're not the ones saying that we absolutely know where the universe came from. That honor lies with the creationists who refuse to demonstrate how they know it. They just assume it and then think they can't be wrong. Imagine if we were doing that. Imagine if we just assumed it was scientia, a force of magic that was science. It was just scientia. But we refuse to demonstrate how we know that. We just say that it is. Ridiculous.
String theory, maybe multiverse to try to explain this. None of it works. None of it's valid as far as creating a logical hypothesis for why we are where we're at today. Anyway, on the timeline that I'm going through here.
If you're talking about Einstein's biggest blunder, it wasn't a blunder, Berius. Like, he thought it was, but it wasn't. He accurately described things. It's really weird. I saw a video on it recently that Einstein's biggest blunder was actually true. Like, it actually works. So maybe it wasn't a blunder.
Just so you know, about 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth formed, our planet formed, cooled off, and then began to rain on the Earth's surface for billions of years. Eventually, the oceans formed because it rained so much. Now, they don't tell us where the rain came from.
Yeah, probably comets. They do tell us where the rain came from. Comets bearing ice. Have you read anything? Where did water come from on the Earth? I'll just double check that, but I think that's essentially what they say. Yeah, delivered by asteroids and comets. Yeah, water-rich meteorites, stuff like that. Oh, you didn't know that? Okay, well, you know.
They don't tell us any of that stuff, but it just rained from.
They do tell us that stuff. You see, this is the thing about creationists. They don't look for the scientific explanations. They only look on their journals and things, and that say, "Oh, they don't know where this came from." And then you know, they say, "Oh, they don't tell us where they come from." Yeah, they do. If you actually looked for it, they do. But you don't want to look for it. Please feel free to check. Yeah, no, I just remember we could be talking about different things, Berius. Don't worry too much about it, mate. I just remember seeing something on that and thinking that was interesting that you know, Einstein thought he had made a blunder and didn't. You know, he was that intelligent that he thought he had screwed up but he actually didn't. I just thought that was interesting. Not even William Lane Craig takes the creationist stories literally. Yeah, no, but some people do, and that's the problem. Like, you know, if you want to accept the science and sort of say, hey, part of the Bible's metaphorical, sure, you go for it. I don't have a problem. But these people want to get this creationist timeline as, you know, they want to take evolution out of schools. They want to take geology as we know it out of institutions. They want to take you know, ice core set. They want to hide anything that shows that their dumbass thick 6,000 years is not true.
Billions of years. Just trust them, okay? Barely an inconvenience. So it rained for millions of years. Then the oceans mixed with the rock and made something called soup. The soup gets struck by lightning about 3 billion.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And Deviant Outcast is absolutely right. And I brought up this in debates about the flood, that you have the Egyptian civilization. We have a record of the pharaohs going through that period. Like, seriously, we have the cartouches and the records of these pharaohs. They didn't stop halfway through. I don't. Yeah, exactly. They kept the Egyptians just kept building their pyramid complexes, temples, and fortresses. Yeah, and we've got the record of that. But you know, then they have to sort of wave that away.
Billion years ago, and it comes alive. Now, I know you might be wondering, well, what about the complexity of cells? How would lightning striking primordial soup put them in the perfect order?
Yeah, so the primordial soup is not how we think it started. That was a very early attempt at describing the abiogenesis. That is not like the idea of lightning striking primordial soup. I don't think that's the current hypothesis that is actually working. Now, we don't know exactly how life formed. We don't know. That's the whole point. And this is the thing that I want to point out. We will say we don't know how this formed. Here's a hypothesis and here's a hypothesis. And, you know, it's kind of like they just go, well, we do know how it formed. It was God. Do you want to actually demonstrate that, or is just claiming it enough? Oh, hello, Luke. And Titan, good to see you. Titan Uranus. Titan is always watching, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, You really don't think they will? Yes, but what they're doing, unable to do that, is now they're creating like charter schools which are teaching sort of creationism. So yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Kian. Yeah, yeah. And that's fine. Like if you think God started evolution, I don't have a problem with that. Like, hey, go for it. More metaphor. Yeah, no, I don't know, Jessica. It's good to see you as well. More metaphor. Why do apologists get so hung up on names that are more metaphor than literal scriptures? Primordial soup, Big Bang, black holes, dark energy. Yeah, absolutely. It's because so like any good straw man, you've got to reduce it to simplistic terms that you can then argue against instead of what it actually is. So because all of these things, like the things you've pointed out, have such robust science behind them, they've got all of this evidence and all of this study behind them, you've got to make it incredibly simplistic in order to argue against it. And what he's doing at the moment, what Eric's doing at the moment, is not only, number one, straw manning abiogenesis to say, hey, there was primordial soup and lightning hit the soup, and then I mean, the one that I really think is the most probable is amyloid world theory, which isn't lightning striking anything. I wonder how he deals with finding all of the components for DNA and RNA in the asteroid Bennu. I wonder how he copes with that, but that's just an aside. But number two, what he's doing is an argument from incredulity or an appeal to it. He's saying, oh, it's impossible for this to happen. Why? Why is it impossible? Like, you're not actually showing it's impossible. You're just saying, hey, it sounds ridiculous. I could do the same thing by, my magic wand of the creator sky daddy kind of thing. That's exactly the same thing.
To create all the proteins. Barely an inconvenience, okay? So life evolves.
Barely an well, how do you explain all of the base proteins being on asteroid Bennu? Like, that's out in space.
It ends up finding out how to split itself in half and replicate itself, which is weird. Now you got 2 mouths to feed instead of only one, and I don't know how much food was there.
They don't have mouths, dude. What are you talking about? We're talking about single-celled life. They don't have mouths. What is this? Like, seriously, if you're going to talk about science, at least be specific about it. It's so wild. It's so wild that he goes to, oh, life started to divide. Now you've got 2 mouths to feed. Like, I get what he's saying, but holy crap. Dude, that's the whole point. Like, yeah, there's more mouths to feed, but there's more organic matter to feed upon. This is as bad as remember when Matt he basically oh, Berius, thank you so much, mate. My good fortune is yours. Thanks, Berius. Much love, mate. Thank you. Really appreciate it. I'll give you a Bigfoot Jesus for that one. And I'm glad you have good fortune. I really am. I really am. Good fortune is good. And I really appreciate it. Yeah, what was I saying? I was saying, yeah. So yeah, so there's more organic matter to feed on. So all of it was feeding on itself, essentially. All of these organisms were basically feeding on themselves. And it depends on what kind of abiogenesis. It's 3 a.m. Damn. All right. Take care. Have a good night. Oh, that's right. He's England, isn't he? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because there was the primordial soup, so they had that to eat. And then, that continued to evolve. The amoeba.
You do know that they ate each other, right? Like, it was basically a free-for-all at that point. Like, this is single-celled organisms. Oh boy.
They evolved into all the different life forms we have today slowly over millions of years, well, wouldn't time be a bad thing, not a good thing? Like barely an inconvenience because things don't.
Wouldn't time be a bad thing and not a good thing? What are you talking about? As time goes on, life generally gets more complex. If you look back at the fossil record, there's sort of very basic single-cell organisms working up to things like stromatolites, which are still around. Stromatolites are still around, and they're essentially colonies of single-celled organisms. It's crazy. But they're very, very basal, basically, very simplistic. They get more complex. So why would time be a problem exactly?
Will get better with time. Things get worse with time. Over millions.
Things get worse with time? What do you mean things get worse with time? Hasn't our technology gotten better with time? I don't understand. What gets worse with time? Do you mean do things like break down over time? Like things decay or whatever? Because what? This is weird. Like seriously, things get worse with time. If you mean single organisms, yeah, our bodies break down over time, but we're talking about like a replicating organism here. Oh, entropy? Oh, yeah. Well, entropy is for a closed system, like a closed energy system. And plus, entropy isn't that everything gets worse over time. Entropy is that the total order, like the total amount of order in any closed system will get worse over time. It doesn't mean that things can't get sort of more ordered. It just means the total order will break down. And the Earth isn't a closed system. It's got the sun to give it energy, which energy is required in order to make the system more ordered. And that energy is what provides for that entropy equation. So, yeah, exactly. So think about it this way, okay? So if the amount of energy that's coming in from the sun, only a certain portion of that is radiated out to space, right? So what does that mean? It means that if there was no use of the energy in order to combat natural entropy, then we would be a fireball at the moment. It would just be a molten rock because that energy's got to go somewhere. But a lot of it is used ordering things. Like it basically fights against entropy. So the Earth being an open system, it receives that energy from the sun. The energy is used for things not to degrade. It keeps things going. Over any closed system, like if you take the entire universe, yeah, entropy is getting higher. But that doesn't mean that the entropy on Earth is getting higher. It just means that the sun is keeping us alive and in order.
Years it evolved into the fish, then the amphibian, then the reptile, then the mammal, and then it evolved eventually about 3 million years ago into people.
Well, I mean, look, it's not like reptiles aren't still around. Your ideas of evolution are weird. I'll just skip over this because he really doesn't understand that these things branch off. They don't, like, it's not like all reptiles evolved into mammals. That isn't what happened. It was like before reptiles sort of in a real basal state, there was sort of the dinosaurs, and then there was the mammals that like we branched off. It's a bit weird. Like his understanding is a bit weird.
And so your great grandpa was nothing but soup, and we all came from this cosmic belch that occurred about 13 to 20 billion years ago. Right now it's at 13.79 billion years ago. So that's the two different worldviews, the creationist worldview and the evolutionist worldview. You say, but Eric, no, you just believe that God did it, barely an inconvenience. Yeah. Actually, no inconvenience at all for somebody who is all powerful and all knowing.
Yeah. You want to present some evidence for that, mate? Like, this is the thing that gets me about creationists, especially these young Earth creationists. So they basically will just go, oh, you can't explain all of these details. Like, you have to explain every single tiny detail that's ever happened in the history of the universe. You've got to explain exactly how the universe came together. I think God did it. You want to explain how that happened? No, God did it. That's the explanation. That's not an explanation. That's just an excuse. That's just like a claim. Oh, because I believe that. I don't care. If you want us to explain every single step of abiogenesis, explain every single step of your creation myth. You can't, and you just appeal to, oh, you can't understand how God works. Okay, then you don't understand how life formed. Congratulations.
Definitely not an inconvenience, okay, for the God of the Bible to create the heavens and the earth and to do it the way he said he did it. Now, the Bible tells us that, like Jesus says this in Matthew chapter 19, it's recorded where Jesus says, when he's asked about divorce, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? Jesus refers to Adam and Eve as the very first people and says that was the beginning. He said, this is the reason people are going to leave their father and mother and going to get married, going to be one flesh. The very concept of
oh, this is great. This is fantastic. I love this. He goes on this tangent. It's hilarious.
Marriage is dependent on the Bible.
Marriage is dependent on the Bible. No one was getting married before the Bible, people. You heard it here first. What? Marriage is dependent on the Bible. I hate to break it to you, Eric, but people were like married before the Bible. There was marriage ceremonies in older cultures. I mean,
honestly, let's just think about it honestly. If evolution is true, why did we evolve this idea called marriage? I mean, if the whole point is to, and I don't mean to be grotesque or crude or anything like that, but if the whole point is to pass on your genetic information, then get busy.
So what Eric doesn't understand and what like he just seems to be skipping over sort of the idea of social animals, right? Like animals that do have monogamy, right? So for instance, there's wolves, there's beavers, there's some bird species like eagles, albatrosses. There's all these animals that have monogamous, like they will have one mate for their entire life. I think woodpeckers do it. Like there's a whole bunch of birds that do it as well. There's way less mammals, but here's the interesting thing, that a ridiculous, like some ridiculous amount of primates are monogamous, right? Not bonobos. All right, we all know bonobos will. I mean, bonobos. Fuck. But you know, we look, there's mostly primates are monogamous. Let me see. I looked this up last night. Primates. I know gorillas are. Gibbons are. 29% of primate species are socially monogamous, and definitely one of the great apes, the gibbon, definitely is. All right, so gibbons are. So it's not like, so if the idea of single partner life commitment is from the Bible, where did the Gibbons get their Bible from, Eric? Where did Gibbons get their Bible from? Because if you're claiming that single partner monogamous relationships are from the Bible, Gibbons are monogamous. They have a single partner their whole lives. Where's their Bible? Where's the Gibbon Bible? This is the whole point. He's not thinking about what marriage actually is and whether there's any other animals that do exactly the same thing as humans do.
Who cares if you're married, guys? It's irrelevant. And you know what?
It is relevant because we're socially cooperative animals. We are. I don't, you know, there's a reason why these apes don't just go round and do whatever. It's because there's social repercussions for that thing.
Today, we're telling the kids they're nothing but animals, and we're seeing the erosion of a fabric of society, individual responsibility to God, marriage.
The erosion of society. I really find issue with this erosion of society argument, like that somehow if we don't have a Christian worldview, then society will collapse upon itself. There's multiple societies out there that don't have Christianity as a foundation, and they're doing fine. In fact, a lot of them are doing better than the Christian societies. So, you know, I don't get why like this whole thing about, well, if social structure changes, everything's going to collapse, because it's not. People have thought that for ages. People were shocked at women showing ankles, you know, like society will collapse if women show their ankles. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. And you kind of people have been saying this for centuries, and society hasn't collapsed. In fact, it's got a lot more robust. And Dr. Tapioca Weasel, the Weasel cult bestows upon its followers one readership. Thank you so much, Tap. Thanks, Vandy. Really appreciate it. And it goes out to Evil Toe. Dr. Tap bestows upon an evil toe. Thank you. Good shot. The Gibbons lost their Gibbon Bible during the global flood. Isn't it always the way? You know, you have the Gibbon Bible 1 minute and then you just misplace it. It's probably lost in the Library of Alexandria, like when they burnt it down.
Between a man and a woman. That's not all. There's more things that are eroding, and it's...
I'm expecting the trip. Yeah. I think I got to do it myself. Give me a sec. Okay.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I got to keep that on backup. It's so appropriate. It is so appropriate. Holy crap.
Sad because we've adopted this concept of evolution. The Bible tells us that death came into the world because of sin. Based on those two worldviews.
Okay, so he rants about evolution over and over and over. I kind of just skipped it, and he said he had all this evidence, and it's just the creationist talking points. So I skipped forward. It really was kind of lame. So,
do you believe the Big Bang made this world from nothing? That's the evolutionary worldview, the humanist worldview. By the way, the humanist worldview says the end of all being is the happiness of man.
Yeah, so what's important to understand is about humanism that it's not the happiness of one man or one woman or anything. And by happiness, we're really talking about the general overall contentment, right? So happiness is kind of an emotion that's fleeting. Like you get happy that something happened and then it's sort of, you know, it goes away and you go back to baseline. What we're really talking about when humanists are talking about like the maximum happiness or the greatest happiness principle, right? We're talking about life satisfaction, overall contentment, and satisfaction with your life. We're not talking about sort of fleeting happiness. Oh, Robin, yeah, sorry, I missed that. Robin Webster gifted a readership. Thank you so much, Robin. Hidden Native Atheist. Bam. Enjoy your emotes and other benefits. Enjoy. So yeah, this is just a straw man of what humanism is, and they've been the creationists have been doing it a lot lately, sort of going, "Hey, you believe in the greatest happiness principle. You're just after, everything for yourself." No, that's not what the greatest happiness principle is. Number one, it's not to do with myself. It's to do with populations, right? So over society, we want the most, and by happiness, we're really talking about life satisfaction, not the fleeting, oh, I'm happy, I won something, I'm happy. That's not the emotion that we're talking about. We're talking about that contentment with everything that's going on in your life. You're sitting there watching a sunset with your significant other or others, and you feel satisfied in your life. That is awesome. Isn't that the it's like a poker roguelite? I've played it. I have played it. Believe me. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was kind of interesting. Yeah. All of the aces and stuff. Yeah. I played it. Yeah, quite good. Quite good. But sort of, and this is where he starts to, and a lot of Christians will do this. They will go, well, you're a humanist, you're horrible, and then they will straw man humanism so badly, like just so badly. If you're going to criticize somebody's philosophical, following, at least get it right.
The reason you exist is for your own happiness. You don't exist for any other.
That is not humanism. We don't exist for our own happiness. We exist for the happiness of humanity. And by happiness, we're really talking about the overall contentment, the flourishing of humanity in general. It's not all for myself. If I did everything for myself, I would inevitably hurt others. And that goes against humanism. No, it's sort of a game where your cards do different things. Like, yeah, it's a video game, not an actual card game. Yeah.
Reason other than your own pleasure. That's not true.
No, where does it say anywhere about pleasure in there? So, Eric, you're terrible. You're straw manning humanism, and it just shows how dishonest you are, because humanism says nothing about your own pleasure. Right. It is important that you do have you have some pleasure in your life, because that is the way to a healthy life. Like, that is well-being. If you had no pleasure in your life, you probably wouldn't be a well human. But that doesn't trump, like, you can't just go, well, it's all about my own pleasure. I'm going to harm anybody. Doesn't matter who else is harmed. That isn't humanism.
I just want you to know, but that's what the world has gotten a lot of people to believe. The other worldview is that there's an incredible design, which means that God is an amazing designer. This is the creation worldview. The creation worldview says God is.
Yeah, but there's some terrible design choices there, mate. That's the thing. There's some terrible design choices there. Why do we have the same breathing hole as swallowing hole? For food to get caught in there in a ridiculous amount of time, people die from getting things caught in it. It seems like a stupid design.
God, he's going to judge all of us one day. And I'm telling you, this is the Christian worldview, guys. The end of all being is not the happiness of man. The end of all being is the glory of God.
So the problem there, that what you have is that when you say glory of God, you're basically going, well, it doesn't matter how many people I hurt if I get to the glory of God. And that's the problem. And it doesn't matter if I say things that are true, if I do things. I get that a lot of Christians have morals around these things. But if your end goal is the glory of God, there are going to be people that harm others in order to get to the glory of God. And we've seen that throughout the centuries, the Crusades, the Inquisition, anything that's getting to the glory of God, where somebody goes, well, you're not glorifying my God, I'm going to subdue you into doing so. It's happened so often.
And I'm convinced, I get the skeptics that are on here, I get it, you'll disagree with me, but I'm telling you, the more you look into this, you'll realize the evolution worldview is the root cause of all kinds of problems that we see in the world today. Because
I think his dad used that, like, he really just takes all of this from his dad. I don't, evolution was not the start of humanism. In fact, originally humanism came from Christianity. It was theistic humanism, that basically they believed that God wanted them to, treat humans well as their first precepts, kind of thing. Like evolution is the start of the radical feminist movement. Really? And look, evolution was the start of sexual perversion. No, it wasn't. Like, you have in your own Bible, the daughters of Lot seducing him, apparently, because of course that's what happens in, a father-daughter relationship. It's always the daughters seducing the father. That's just terrible. But you have them sleeping with their father. Isn't that sexual perversion? Evolution wasn't even around at that time. Are you saying Lot believed in evolution? So it couldn't possibly be. Paganism? Evolution is the root of paganism? I'm pretty sure paganism was around before evolution. Like, this is ridiculous. This is just stupid. Like, this is somebody that is just ridiculous. So whoever did this is a joke, because there is no way that evolution is what caused paganism. I'm sorry to break it to you. Wow.
You're nothing but an animal. Who cares? Why do we worry? I don't worry about killing an animal.
Okay, so I have a problem with nothing but an animal, and I'm almost really disturbed by him saying, I have no problem killing an animal. Really? Really? Do you hang out with Christy Gnomes a lot? I'm here, Fido. Really? So you got no problem with killing dogs and cats? Is that what you're saying, Eric? You guys got no problem with it, Like you see a cat on the street, you're just like, yeah, if I just slaughter it, I've got no problem. Kittens, yeah, I got no problem with killing them. No problem at all. You are a monster, Eric. And I don't think he means that. I think that he does, have a problem with, say, killing pets. At least I hope so.
That's not a big deal. And if we're just animals now, I don't care about killing people. Now, euthanasia is okay.
If we're animals now, I don't care about killing people. We are literally animals. That's how we're classified. But I have a problem with him saying we're just animals. There is a problem with that. It's not that we're just animals. No, we're animals, but, we're humans. Like, this is the thing. Like, I don't... Just as I'd have a problem with somebody drowning kittens, I'd have a problem with someone drowning humans.
Okay. Now, abortion's okay. Now, the end of all being is happiness to me. My own satisfaction trumps everything going on in the world.
That is not humanism, and that is not sort of evolutionarily. We are social organisms. We have to function in a social capacity. So me and being selfish is not going to get you. Evolution doesn't get you to being selfish. In fact, the most successful things are cooperative, not selfish. Oh, boy.
Because it's all about me. If evolution is true, we got a major problem. And I think the creation message really undermines that. So that's why we go through this whole point. And by the way, I don't think people realize how long 13.8 billion years.
Yeah, we know how long 13.8 billion years is. We know how long that is. It's like 13,800 million years.
There's a chart out there called Adam's Chart of History. I think I talked about this in the theistic evolution one because I just wanted people to understand how big 13.8 billion years is. Adam's Chart of History is 23 foot long. I mean, this one single chart it's mapped out all 6,000 years of human history and put it on a timeline for everybody to see. If we were to shrink that chart down to the width of a human hair, 1/1000th of an inch, that's how big our chart is, 1/1000th of an inch.
So, like, this actually reminds me of those flat Earth arguments that is like, oh, you think the sun is, this amount of this? It's so far, it can't possibly be true. What? Yeah, it's a big number. What? Yeah, okay, 150 million kilometers, right? So the sun is 150 million kilometers. Do you realize how far it is? Yeah. It's a big number. Like, this is to flat earthers where, like, oh, big numbers scare them. Like, I have to extend that to young earthers, to yerfers, if you will. Big numbers scare them. Yeah, it's a big number. I get you. To us, it seems like it is almost an incomprehensible amount of time. Yes, I get that. But it's a thing. This is just an argument from incredulity. I can't believe it was that long. So? Oh, but my life is only, 80 to 100 and something years. So? I don't understand. What has that got to do with anything? Deviant says, okay, I want to read this out, Deviant, because I want to know what well-being means for you. Well-being for me means well-being for humanity, because we're social beings dependent on our fellow humans. Absolutely. So I will say this, and it's a quote that I absolutely love from Juru. I think it's Kishamati. I can't remember his name. Krishnamurti. Jiddu Krishnamurti. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Okay, we have to, in order to be well, we have to have a well society. We have to help people around us as well. And I totally agree with you, Deviant. It's a really good point. We also depend on the environment, the society we're around us. Remembering that and acting accordingly means you're going to act in a way that helps everyone to prosper. But if all you're living for is to glorify a God who's about to wipe the slate clean every 5 minutes, yeah, the rapture, yep, and an afterlife where you get to live in a mansion, you're going to make choices that inevitably ignores the here and now and hurts everyone and everything in the long run. Personally, I wanted to leave this place a little bit better than when I entered it. Absolutely. 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 Yeah, I wanna absolutely give a big Lynn love to Deviant. Absolutely.
Inch. How long would 13.8 billion years be at that scale? 13.8 billion years would be the width of a Boeing 777.
Like, all of this is like, oh, I can't believe the Earth is 150 million miles away from the sun. That's ridiculous. That's what it is. It doesn't, he's not arguing against it. He's just saying, hey, big number scary. I don't like it. Who cares? Like, yeah, it's a long time ago. I get you.
Guys, human history is only about, like, the oldest writing that we have is only about 6,000 years old. Like, you want me to believe that you can go all the way through time for that many billions of years? You get,
oh, by the way, the oldest writing is not the Bible. Just letting you know there.
Down to the other end, the other end, the tip of the wing of your timeline, and you find a hair, and that's all of human history. This is crazy. Danny Faulkner, my friend from Answers in Genesis, said adding billions of years to the biblical timeline is limiting God's power to create the world in 6 literal days.
Yeah, and this isn't towards atheists. And I want to point this out. This isn't towards atheists. This is towards the theistic evolution people. So he finds it, upsetting that they believe in evolution because there's a mountain of evidence for it.
And the resurrection, oh my goodness, guys, we did an entire small group.
Okay, I wanted to include this, right? He just goes on and on about how he can't believe it's not he can't believe it's, billions of years. And then he goes to buy my DVDs. Like, seriously, and they're DVDs. I love it. Like, he's really, this apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Buy my DVDs. Like, he does it in a way that's like, seriously, classic Hovind. Buy my DVD
series on this, on evidence for the resurrection of Christ. It's incredible the amount of information out there showing Christ really did rise from the dead. Is there evidence of creation? Oh my goodness. I mean, you're on Standing for Truth's channel where they give you evidence after evidence after evidence. I mean, how far do you want to go? Every major scientist.
Yeah, so Standing for Truth's channel, Dottie's channel does not give scientific facts, and like tons of scientists argue against him, and he's not a published scientist at all. He's written a book that was panned by critics, like, the people that actually know biology and know their stuff just panned him. I mean, if he was someone like Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal, who understand evolutionary theory, I get you, but he's not. He's an apologist. Like, seriously, guys, don't go looking for scientific, facts over at Donnie's channel. It's not there. It's just not there. And the whole thing about this is that the people that he's quoting that were around at the time, they were all Christian. Like, don't forget that the 1500s, it's basically the late stages of sort of the Renaissance and the Christian ages kind of thing. All of these people were Christians because the church enforced Christianity, but he's leaving out all of the non-Christians, right? Like all of the atheist scientists. What about the Curies? Like Pierre and Marie Curie. They were atheists. So was Alan Turing. Feynman, Hawking, like, why is it that we're saying, oh, all of these scientists kind of thing? Well, hang on a second. What about all of the atheist ones? What about all of the Greek thinkers like Archimedes, Pythagoras? They weren't Christian. They were ancient Greek. They believed in Zeus and stuff, even if they did believe in the gods, which a lot of the ancient Greeks didn't. Why are you cherry picking just the ones from a certain timeline that Christianity was dominant and enforced itself? What about all the original? What about the Islamic thinkers in the golden age of Islam? What about them? No, we're ignoring that. I mean, math itself, if you're going to talk about Newton, well, math itself came originally from India. What about them? No, we just ignore all of them. Yeah,
They
okay.
developed a major branch of science, was a creationist. They wanted to discover God's.
No, they weren't. Alan Turing developed computing, like modern computing. He developed that branch of science. And, you cannot argue with that. That man saved millions of lives in World War II from cracking the Enigma code of the Germans, using the very first developed computer. He was an atheist and a gay guy. What now?
Language in the universe. So Bacon, Galileo, Kepler, Pascal, Boyle, Newton, Herschel, Dalton, Faraday, Owen, Joule, Pasteur, Kelvin, all these guys were trying to discover God's mind.
No, notice it stops at like the 1900s, like, because this is when the Christians were prevalent. Nowadays, most scientists are actually atheists. But I'm not saying that Christians can't be scientists, or that somehow atheists have this monopoly on science because a lot of scientists are atheists. No, of course not. Anybody can do science. They just can't put their God in as the explanation up front in order to find, confirm that bias, because that's not how science works. Richard Owen also was a pretty nasty piece of work. I have to, sort of say that as well. But like, you're missing out so many people of different religions that have contributed to science. Why? Because he wants science to be. Science has a good reputation for providing the truth. He wants to hijack that for Christianity, essentially. So oh, science was started by creationists. No, it wasn't. Science was started in the ancient Greek days by Pythagoras and Aristotle and, you know, all of these other thinkers, and they were not Christian. Absolutely not. They may not have been atheist. They might have believed in gods, but they weren't Christian.
In what he created. And that's why these major branches of science were even developed. We could go through the human population and
all right. So Richard Owen, Richard Owen was a nasty piece of work. He did one amazing thing. He hijacked others' research. He tried to discredit others, take credit for their research. He was a nasty piece of work. What he did for humanity, he kind of did accidentally. So Richard Owen was the first person to put forward the idea of opening up museums to the public. The question is, why would a horrible guy do that for humanity? Well, he wanted to charge money for it. Yeah. Because he was a greedy MF, he basically said, well, we want to open up museums to the public, because he wanted to make money from it. And entirely coincidentally, he actually helped humanity, because we can all go to a museum and see the things on display and understand the science. Like the only good thing Richard Owen did was purely by chance. Like he just accidentally helped us.
Joe, in 1985.
I mean, look at this human chart population. It's so ridiculous. Like 4000 BC, like that's billions. Like it got to 1 billion before 2000 BC. Are you high? Are you high right now? Like say, oh, we didn't know the amount of people. It got to over 1 billion. Like your chart is terrible. Look at this. What the hell?
There were only 5 billion people on Earth. Back in 1930, there were only 2 billion people. 1800, 1 billion people. You can trace the human population backwards, and it makes an exponential growth curve on a graph, and it only goes back to about 4,000 to 5,000 years.
No, it doesn't.
But when you look this up in secular journals or secular resources on this, they go back where it should stop to nothing, and then just kind of pretend that it keeps going. 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 500,000, or this one, 5,000, 600, 6,000.
Yeah. So, like all of this time, basically the population was unchanged, essentially unchanged. Like there was no real, increase at all. And during the Black Death, it actually dipped because people weren't having a lot of children. And there's a fatal flaw with Eric's calculations, and I'll take you through why that is.
7,000, 2 to 5 million. Guys, I don't know if you've studied human population growth, but that's impossible. I don't know if you studied our deformed chromosomes and the genetic load that we're under and how many deformities.
Yeah, genetic entropy is not a thing, Eric. It's not a science. It's not a thing.
And mutations we're passing to the next generation. It's somewhere between 100 and 300 genetic mutations.
Oh, no problem, Andrew. Would you like another bowl? Go for it.
Mutations are being passed to the next generation. Guys, we can't be millions of years old. There's no way. I did a whole thing on evolution is impossible. You can evolutionisimpossible.com. I'm offering $1,000 reward to anybody that can give me evidence of evolution.
Yeah, so I didn't look this up. I'm very familiar with these creationist challenges. Kent Hovind, his father, did a famous one. You've got to prove evolution. Somebody did, and then he just challenged that it was proof. It really was, a dodgy thing. It was pretty crass. It really, there was no, it's like those flat earth things where there is no way to prove, to their satisfaction. I did get hold, and I'll speed this up so I don't get copyright struck, and it's also a lot faster. And I'll just show you, this is from the American Museum of Natural History, a scientifically, a scientifically reputable place, So this is population in millions. Across the bottom here is the timeline kind of thing. 300,000 years ago is when humans started to evolve in Africa. So basically, you can see it basically does not rise at all for a long period. Like all of this period, it remained low, less than 1 million people for all this time. Like, so when farming was invented, it picked up, right? Like that's when it actually moved upwards. So again, we can see this from year 1 AD. Like, as opposed to his graph where at 1 AD, like there was millions of people. No. Human population, 170 million, right? So there was the Roman Empire. So what I want you to see is that, hold on a sec. There's 170, 172, 181, 100. Okay, so here, right? 181 million human population, right? What happens? It goes down. It goes down. 179, 178. What happened there, right? Like the question is, what happened? Well, there was a few things. The Roman Empire was basically degrading, and there was a massive plague that went through that we think was smallpox. It was called the Cypric Plague, and it destroyed like about 60% of the Roman Empire, or 60% of the population rather of that area. So this is the thing that he's not thinking about. The population actually went down, right? $177 million. And then Mayan civilization, the birth of Islam, starts going up and up. And this is when civilizations start to, we hit the almost turn of the century, smallpox in Japan. And this is sort of pointing out all of these things, gunpowder invented. We're reaching 1200. The Mongol Empire probably slowed down the population a little bit. Yeah, so you can see all the dots disappearing as the Mongol Empire came through. Now, the bubonic plague, right? It's a rare, the population dips. It actually dips for, yeah, so it goes from 350 something million to 340 something, like 10 million people die, which is wild. Reaching on the 1700s. Industrial Revolution, boom. That was basically the invention of fertilizer, peeps. And there we go. That's today. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Yeah, so the Industrial Revolution basically was the advent of fertilizer when we realized that we could basically get nitrogen into plants without sort of expensive means. We could basically synthesize fertilizer. Incredibly, this caused us to be able to feed that many more people. So each population jump is marked by some sort of technology like farming. But before farming, the population, it really didn't change that much. It grew so slowly before farming. And he's forgetting that we'll get on to his
evolution is absolutely impossible. There's no way that it happened. The human population shows clearly that we've only been here for a few thousand years, not millions or billions of years. So this is just math. This is what I say, Donnie. It's just evidence, man. It's literally just evidence.
Yeah, this isn't evidence, and I'll explain what's wrong with his thing. See also scientific creationism. Yeah, no, that's an oxymoron. Oh, yeah, that was human population through time. Here, I'll get the link because it was just on YouTube. I just wanted to get a just a visualization of what what science says how the population grew. Just to show you that, yeah, we account for all of this. Give me 1 second and I'll grab the thing. Yeah, there you go, Berius. It's just the American, like, you know, it's just the American Museum of Natural History. They just, you know, do all of this. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, $1,000. Yeah, I like that. Let's see the best evidence. This is just information. It's scientific data. It's how fast, how long.
It's not scientific data. There's nothing scientific about this. It's basically it's flawed, and I'll explain
Would it take
why.
the human population to form? And you get about 8 billion people on the planet as of about a year and a half ago, starting about 4,400 years ago. It doesn't take millions and billions of years. Matter of fact, we got time, right? What's 5? Okay, we're good, right? We're good on time.
Oh, we're good. We're great.
Okay, let me throw this at you. This guy cool. Encyclopedia Britannica did a study. They said, we want to find out how long it would take to get all these people that are on planet Earth. And they said, I won't read this whole thing, but I'll graph out what it did for you, what they did. They said the current population growth rate was 1.7%. We're way lower than that right now around the world, which is a problem. We need to be having more children. So please, love Jesus, get married, have children.
Yeah, no, we don't. This is the problem. The resources on Earth can only support so much. They are finite. Kent Hovind's sort of offspring here is proposing that we exponentially increase the birth rate. Exponentially. We may not have the resources for all of that. I don't know that we do. Could we just hold off until we figure out what resources that we actually have? Like, I've got no problem with people, you know, having children and stuff. That's fine. I totally for your right to have children. It's just we may have problems. China seems to have problems with population at the moment. It's a problem.
Raise a family, we need that, okay? They said, but if we started just 1 million years ago, and instead of growing the human population at 1.7%, we're going to slow the population growth rate down to 0.01%.
Okay, so his problem here is he is keeping the same rate of population change over the entire time, regardless of what technologies and what improvements the population has made, right? So this is his problem, that we have instances, and the reason why I showed that visualization is there were parts like the invention of agriculture, the invention of animal husbandry, right? There are these technologies and these things that we have implemented that has increased our growth rate exponentially. Later on, the invention of fertilizer, modern medicine. But even before that, just from hunter-gatherer tribes to, agriculture, it's a huge jump. So he's assuming it's all the way through, it's all static. The thing is that it throws his calculations completely off if the growth rate that he's put here does not remain stable. And don't forget, there were times in that graph where the population actually went down towards the end of the Roman Empire when the Cyprian plague went through. At the bubonic plague, you know, even the Mongols reduced numbers and things. Now, what you've got to remember is that this will cause that rate to be thrown off. Absolutely thrown off. But he's not accounting for that. He's just saying, hey, let's assume the same rate of growth every single year or every single time period, you know, without any kind of other thing thrown in, and then saying, well, that doesn't work. Well, yeah, you're not representing it accurately. In before agriculture, our population was, I mean, it grew, but it was pretty well unchanged. There was also a population bottleneck at one point where we went down to, I think it was a few thousand individuals. So that's going to throw it way off as well, that the numbers dipped significantly. Maybe I think that was 100,000 years ago from memory, I think. Human population bottleneck. No, it was, this bottleneck may have caused the global population to shrink to a low of 1,280 breeding individuals. Oh, okay. So it's about 1 million years ago, 930,000 to 813,000 years ago. Yeah, so this population, he's not taking that into account, that, hey, at one point, 1 million years ago, the population dropped, you know, like it absolutely bottomed out. It's actually, it was probably that amount 20 years ago, to freak. We just didn't know how to find autistic people. Like, for instance, when I went through school, there was no such thing. Like, they didn't even talk about it. You know, it wasn't a thing. People were socially awkward rather than autistic. And we realize now that there's so many of us around, but we just didn't know how to identify them. That's all. Like, it's just that we've gotten better at identifying them, not that suddenly there's a big spike in it. That's not true. Like, for instance, Cavendish, who did the Cavendish experiments, he was almost certainly on the autism spectrum, almost certainly. He shows, like, all of the reports and all of the descriptions of him, he was absolutely almost non-verbal. But nobody knew. He was just an eccentric, you know, like he wasn't, you know, they didn't know what it was. Yeah, that happened a lot too, sure. But a lot of people that had neurological issues like autism, they were just labeled eccentric. You know, like you have the eccentric inventor and the eccentric, you know, we didn't know what it was.
So 170 of what it actually is. That's impossibly slow. This is just for experimentation. What would happen? If you grew the population at 0.01%,
it's not impossibly slow, because the population rate went down during the bubonic plague, during the Cyprian plague, towards the end of Rome. The population of the world went down. So it's not impossibly slow. It's just that the population rate varies.
You would double, you see it right in the middle of the screen there, you would double the number of people on the planet every 7,000 years. That's how growth rates work, okay? So they give you the formula right there. They say, okay, what would happen? And you would basically double the number of people 142 times in 1 million years. So they said, okay, let's start 1 million years ago with 2 people. The first ape-like creatures stood up and called themselves human, and they're going to be, you know, their first people 1 million years ago. And we double the number of people every 7,000 years, which, again, that's impossibly slow, but that's what we're going to do. If you doubled the number every 7,000 years, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, you're like, what about wars and famines? Dude, we're just trying to get people here, okay?
Yeah, what about wars and famines, Eric? Oh, don't think about that. Yeah, wars, famines, plagues, disasters, volcanoes, floods. Oh, let's not worry about that. And don't forget that only works if people are actually getting to the age to conceive children. Like, so childbirth rates childbirth rates are much lower in the past. And I know that but you can't just say, hey, the growth rate was this thing for all of human history. That is ridiculous. And they're just doing it to make a point. Oh, if the growth rate was constant, you know, it couldn't possibly go back that far. Yeah, because the growth rate wasn't constant, Eric. And it was a lot lower before there was agriculture. Did you put that into it? Did you actually calculate for that? No? Oh, I'm surprised. Oh, no. Okay. So you said something about, I was making a joke. Lutes are the horniest instrument that will seduce you anyway. And I'm like, liar. Do you get it? Do you get it? Oh, it's a terrible joke. It's a terrible joke. It's a terrible joke. It's a terrible joke. Do you get it? Liar. Liar. Okay. I'll see myself out.
We're just trying to get, because that's very slow. We're very, very, very slow. If you double 142 times.
It works a lot better if you're actually talking with somebody instead of typing. I'll just say it right now.
The number of people, Donnie, on planet Earth would be 10 to the 43rd power.
Wow.
That's how many people would be on planet Earth in 1 million years at a 0.01% growth rate.
Yeah, but your growth rate doesn't change. Even your growth rate, today, like it changes. you know, Barius, I got to say, I stole it from Terry Pratchett. I stole it from Terry Pratchett. I'll be honest. You know, Terry Pratchett was the first place I saw that joke. So, yeah. Yep. Thank you for taking pity on me. Hey, human girl. Good to see you. Yeah, I'm well. This is great. I love this. This is so bad. It's fantastic. Like this is the kind of bad I absolutely love. I absolutely love. So all of that was sort of leading up to this, right? And I'm happy to go on because this is the meat of it. Okay, are you ready to have your mind blown? Because this is the 5 questions he's going to use to blow your mind, right? Like this is it. This is the crux. And it's so good. It's so good.
Was that working or no? Anyway,
It was a little faint though.
Okay. Maybe I didn't share sound right, but I do that. I ask people that question. When you were a Christian, when you say you were a Christian, did you have a relationship with Christ? And it undermines their entire argument. No, they thought they did. And so that guy, I think his name is David. I was telling him.
Yeah, they thought they did, just like you think you did. But, you know, they're prepared to admit where they're wrong and you just haven't admitted it yet.
To be accurate, to be honest, what you should say is, I used to be delusional and I'm not anymore. That would be an accurate way to put where you're at. And I'm fine. You can say, hey, Eric, I think you're delusional.
Eric, I think you're delusional. Yes.
Get it. I'm about to show you something that's going to blow your mind, though, okay? I'm not delusional. I'm about to show you something that's going to absolutely blow your
mind. Okay. Prepare my mind. My mind is about to be blown.
Fine, okay? All right. Here's 5 questions you should ask a skeptic, and I'd encourage you to write these down, okay? 5 questions to ask a skeptic or an atheist.
He looks like a mechanic. Yeah. I was about to say maybe he's the mechanic for Donnie's car dealership. Sorry, Donnie. I got to poke fun at you. I have to poke fun at you.
How to blow an atheist mind, okay? The first 3 questions set something up. The 4th question blows their mind. The 5th question exposes a very real reality and shows them the evidence doesn't matter. So that's what these 5 questions are designed to do, okay? Question number 1. Is it impossible for the God of the Bible to exist?
So I'm getting flashbacks to a certain English guy that I debated, and I strongly suspect he got his arguments from Eric Hovind, right? Like this is where I think this came. I think I've tracked down the source of this idiocy. I think I've tracked down the source of it. Is it impossible for the God of the Bible to exist? No, not logically impossible. Is it physically impossible? Yes, it goes against all laws of physics. So for number 1, what kind of possibilities are you talking about? Are you talking about logical? Are you talking about physical? Are you talking about, what kind of question are you asking? So it's very, very vague. Farron Salace with $9.99. Thank you so much, Farron. It's really good to see you. Thank you. $9.99 super sticker. What was the sticker? I can't see it. It is a blank. What? Why isn't it showing the sticker? Oh, it's a pair. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Farron. Okay, it just showed up. Oh, that was weird. Yeah, so I presume he's talking about the precept thing. Is it logically impossible for the God of the Bible to exist? No, it's not logically impossible, but that's a low bar. That's a really low bar because there's a lot of things that aren't impossible that we don't think exists. So with possibilities, basically with logical possibilities, we're saying, does a change of state of affairs, would that be logically impossible? Would it be in violation of logic? And as I've pointed out in multiple debates now, just because something's logically impossible doesn't mean it actually is, right? Like, so it's logically possible for me to be in my kitchen right now. That could be logically possible. In actuality, I am not in my kitchen, right? That's not what I'm doing, right? I am somewhere else. So just because something's logically possible doesn't mean that it actually is. And that's an important point that they're missing, right? That it's logically possible for me to own an ostrich. But the question isn't whether it's logically possible. That's the very first really low bar you've got to pass. Like, for instance, a married bachelor is not logically possible, right? It violates the laws of logic. A square circle is not logically possible. It basically is the the very, very lowest bar that you've got to overcome is logical possibility. Now you've got to actually demonstrate that this is true in actuality, not possibility.
Now, I'm curious, the skeptics that are on the chat right now, is it impossible for the God of the Bible to exist? How would you answer this question? Okay, go ahead and answer.
Yes, it's logically possible. The question that you should be asking in return when you're engaged in these kind of, back and forths is it logically impossible for the God of the Bible not to exist? And see how truthful they are, because it is logically possible that no God exists whatsoever. There's no violation of the laws of logic of that. No violation at all, right? So is it impossible for the God of the Bible to not exist? The answer is also yes. And if they say no, what violation of logic is it? If instead of a God, you have a magic force, or instead of a God, you have just pure naturalistic explanations, not that they say, hey, this isn't the case, but is that possible? And the answer is yes, logically. Is it physically possible? Yes. Even if we don't know how, it's still physically possible. So, there's nothing violating the laws of logic about a God not existing. In my debate, when I debated the English guy, when I asked that question, he then said, well, the laws of logic don't apply to a God. Special pleading. Just basically, no, let's throw logic out the window when it's inconvenient. Which is wild. Which is absolutely wild. So I've got to say whether logically it's possible for the God of the Bible to exist, but when done the other way, basically we throw logic out at that point, because it's lethal to your it's not lethal to the God. Just because it's logically possible for the God not to exist doesn't mean that actually God does not exist, right? Neither way it confirms or denies it, right? You can still say, hey, it's logically possible that the God doesn't exist, but I still believe he exists. Okay. But just the possibility is there. So you can't go with possibility as being actuality, because the possibility exists the other way, that the God doesn't exist. So if you want to be intellectually consistent, you would have to say, well, if it's impossible for the God of the Bible, if it's possible for the God of the Bible to not exist, then that is true also, which is a contradiction. It doesn't make sense. Oh, yeah, Andrew, I think you were there in the chat with me in this one. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, someone hooked up Eric and Saiten Bruggenkate, and he drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, chugged that shit.
Put in the chat for me, because I'm real curious about this. Because I happen to know something about a true skeptic. If you're a true skeptic, nothing is impossible. So I've asked.
No. Some things, like I said, a married bachelor is a logical impossibility. Right. So when we're saying, usually, if you're talking about impossibilities, you're usually talking about logical impossibilities. Right. So things that violate the basic laws of logic. So no, they're things that are impossible. Married bachelor, a square circle, all of these things are impossible.
Ask this question this way on purpose. Is it impossible for the God of the Bible to exist? Because you know that there's no way to absolutely say, yes, it's absolutely impossible for God to exist.
No, nobody says that. Nobody says it's absolutely impossible, right? That isn't the bar you have to pass while demonstrating something. There's nothing absolutely impossible about dragons or Bigfoot or fairies or any of these things. That isn't the bar you like. Possibility, like logical possibility, is just a base level that you have to overcome. Like, all we can say is that logically impossible things are not real, right? They cannot exist in the real world. They're non-existent. Like, just because you've overcome that doesn't mean it exists. Just like me saying it's logically possible that I could be in my kitchen, doesn't mean I am. It doesn't translate to actuality. And this is this weird non sequitur that's like, well, if it's possible, then it is. No, nothing in logic says that. That does not follow.
You know that's not a reality. It's not logically sound. It doesn't follow. So you're forced to say it's not impossible for God to exist. No, it's not impossible.
Yes.
What does this say here? God both exists and does not. P. That's I'm gonna show you.
No, it's not impossible.
No,
it's not. Okay, good. It's not. Yeah, there you go. Syrup said no, it's not impossible. I don't know if they're skeptic or not, but no, it's not impossible for God to exist. Okay, that's all I want to know. Question number 2. This is what I do with a skeptic. Question number 2 for a skeptic. And if you're too afraid to answer because you think I'm taking you somewhere, you're right, and you should be scared to answer because these lead to a logical conclusion that blows your mind. Question number 2: is it impossible for the Bible to be what it claims to be?
No. It's not impossible. It's not logically impossible for the Bible to be the inerrant word of God. No, it's not. Right? Is it impossible for the Bible to be a fictional account written by people that had no contact with a God whatsoever? Is it impossible for that? Logically impossible. There's nothing logically impossible about that. There's nothing logically impossible about that. So my response to this, I would say, well, how honest are you? It's extremely unlikely, yeah, but he's not asking that, Andrew. I think that when he's saying, is it impossible, he's saying whether it's logically impossible. And it's not. Like, that's the thing. Like, but logically possible is such a low bar and gets you almost nowhere towards actually demonstrating the God. It's logically possible that I could be in Florida right now. That's logically possible. It's not impossible. I could have set this studio up in Florida. We're asking whether it's true, not whether it's possible. Like this whole line of thinking is saying, hey, is it possible that aliens did this? Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean it actually happened. The problem is that if you think possibility leads to actuality, you will get infinite contradictory results. Infinite contradictory results. Because every single possibility is played out, right? Like, so is it possible that I walked into the other room? Is it possible that I didn't do my stream this morning? Is it possible this? It doesn't mean that there's any actuality to it. You're just saying, does it violate any law of logic? That's it.
This claims to be revelation from God. Is that impossible? Is it impossible for an all-powerful being to give us something that's called revelation from him?
Is it impossible that book was just written by people who had superstitious beliefs? Yes, it's logically possible, right? Or if you're saying it's not logically possible, what law of logic does it violate? What law of logic does it violate? And if you're the English guy from my debate, you go the law of excluded middle, and then claim you're the excluded middle, which was hilarious, by the way. But yeah, like, what law of logic does the Bible being a fiction violate? So it is logically possible for the Bible to be fictional. It is possible, right? Yeah, EB3. That guy was I don't know what he was on. He was saying that he was the excluded middle, and then said, "Oh, I misinterpreted him when he said it." Just wild. Just absolutely wild. Wild stuff.
Because again, if you're a skeptic, nothing's really impossible. You have to, if you're going to be an honest skeptic, you have to say,
if you're a skeptic, nothing's really impossible. Well, it depends on what kind of impossibility that you're talking about. Is it physically impossible for the Bible to be what it claims to be? Yes. The Bible has many things in which are physically impossible, that contravene the laws of physics. But I believe you're talking logically impossible. Like, you've got to be more clear in what you're talking about here. But yeah, I believe he's talking about, like, I'll be generous and I'll be charitable and say, hey, he's talking about logical impossibility. No, it's not logically impossible. It's incredibly unlikely, but you haven't actually demonstrated that it's even plausible. Possible does not equal plausibility.
hey, anything's possible. So no, that's not impossible. The Bible could be what it claims to be. And if you want to challenge me on that, we can go down that road and you end up coming right back around to, okay, you're right, it's not impossible. I don't think it happened. I don't think it is. I know, that's different. That's different.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's impossible.
So he realizes that possibility does not equal actuality, because we can say, hey, it didn't happen. Is it impossible? No, but it's so unlikely, it's ridiculous, you know. So I just, why? Where does this get you? It gets you onto the same playing field as fairies and dragons and Bigfoot. Like, great.
Then I ask question number 3. Hey, is it impossible for God to give us certainty?
Is it impossible for a God to reveal truth to us and make us certain? No. Is it impossible that God never revealed anything to you at all? Just flip it back. Is it impossible that you could be deluded? No? Then what law of logic does it violate? How do you know that you're not deluded? Is that possible? I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's actually your state of mind. I'm saying, is that possible? And if you say no, why not? What logic does it violate that you're just convinced of something that's not true? There's no violation of logic in that at all. And if you say, oh, no, it can't be because I believe in God and God is, no, but is it impossible? Impossible for that to be the case. Like, I get that you're going to say, hey, I don't believe that. Yeah, fine. That's not the question. The question is it impossible that you've been convinced of something that's not true?
Could an all-powerful being make us absolutely certain of its truth? Is that possible or is that impossible? And again, a good skeptic will say, well, it's not impossible. Surely an all-powerful being could reveal. I don't think he did. I'm not arguing with that. Is it impossible?
No, but that is the lowest bar on actually demonstrating something, is showing that it's logically possible. Like, seriously, that gets you almost nowhere. Like, from here, you have to show that that is actually the case, not that you've basically said, hey, it's possible. You actually have to show that that actually happened.
And you can't say it's impossible. And if it's not impossible, that leaves it possible. So if it's not impossible for God to exist, if it's not impossible for the Bible to be revelation from God, and it's not impossible for God to give us certainty, well, you've just admitted that it's possible the Christian worldview is true, because that's what the Christian worldview is.
It's possible, yes. Does this guy not understand that possibility isn't actuality? And I think the probability is increasingly low to be implausible. Like, it's got so many contradictions, so many problems, so many differences in opinion. You've got to ask, well, which Christian worldview? You were just here railing against evolution. There's a whole bunch of Christians that disagree with you. Like, it's so wild to have someone talking about, if something's not impossible, then it's true. No, it doesn't work like that. Like, holy crap.
The Christian worldview says God exists.
Oh, is Deviant taking off? I need to pop out. Oh, thank you so much, Deviant. Really, really appreciate you hanging around. Always a pleasure. Always good to see you. Take care and give my love to Sud. Everyone loves Sud. Everybody.
The Bible's revelation from God, and God gives us certainty. You say, I don't believe that. I know. All I'm saying is you have to leave room for it's possible that it's true.
Yeah, it's possible. Logically possible. Why should we believe it? Like, this is the thing. Like, Bigfoot's logically possible. Why should we believe it? Like, look at the look on Donnie's face here. Like, Donnie's smart enough to realize this is a lemon of an argument. Like, he's sitting there going, I've never heard Donnie, like, in his defense, I have never heard Donnie use a pre-sup argument, because he knows this is stupid. Or at least I would hope that he knows that this is stupid. I mean,
So now what we've done is we've opened up the door to realize it's possible that Christianity is true. Now I'm ready for question number 4. Now this one is the one that should blow your mind.
Okay, get ready to have your minds blown by this question. This is question 4, the mind blower.
And I may have to unpackage this a little bit. I get it. It takes a minute for this to sink in, okay? But let me just blow your mind here real quick. This one I do. I want you guys to answer this one in the chat, okay? If you could, just yes or no so that I can read it real quick as the chat goes by. Just a yes or just a no as you go by, okay? Here's my question for skeptics out there, for atheists. Could you be wrong about everything you think you know?
Yes. Yes. Am I wrong about everything I think I know? So this is the thing. He's basically saying, okay, you could be wrong about everything you think you know. Could you be wrong about everything you think you know, Eric? If the answer is no, you can't be wrong, why not? Why not? Because God? Because of the begging the question God that you've already put out there? This whole thing, could you be wrong about everything you think you know? Yes. But I am as confident in certain things like the world around me and what I'm experiencing and all of these things, as confident that I can be about anything. So basically what they're doing is using sort of a hard solipsism kind of tactic. Oh, everything you think you know can be wrong, therefore you don't know anything. No, I do make knowledge claims, and it's based upon axioms that we both agree on. We both agree that I am on this earth, that my senses are describing things, and yeah, all of that could be an illusion, but you don't think that, Eric. You don't think this world is an illusion. So the only way everything I think I know could be wrong is if this world, this existence, is a very convincing, permanent illusion. But you don't think that. You don't think that. So why are you going to hard solipsism? Because you expect me to use my senses because you're talking to me. You expect me to use logic because you're trying to use logic and failing abysmally. You have that expectation. You are validating what I use to confirm the world around me. And the only way I could be wrong about everything is that if this world, this existence I see around me is just an illusion. If it's not an illusion, then I know things.
Could you be wrong about everything you think you know? And I want you to be honest about this, okay? Because I know the answer. Could you be wrong about every...
Well, it's not impossible. I think it's so incredibly unlikely. I see no reason to believe that. But if this world is a infinitely convincing illusion, then yeah, I'm wrong about everything I know. But you don't think this world is an illusion, and neither do I. So why are you bringing it up? It's basically, it's dishonest people preying on honest people who are able to say, hey, I am willing to challenge anything and make sure I have reasons for believing those things. That's what it's doing. Because he said, well, I can't be wrong because God. How do you know the God's real? Because God. And how do you know that that's not something that's an illusion? Because God. It's a circular argument. He's got no more a solution for hard solipsism than anybody else does. He's just saying God and pretending, convincing himself that is a solution. And it's not. It's absolutely not. Because what precepts do, what they actually do, is convince themselves if they don't admit that they are wrong, they have to be right. And that is not how epistemology works. It doesn't matter how hard you believe something, how little skepticism and go, well, I'm right. It doesn't matter. That doesn't make you more right. But they just think that if they don't admit they can be wrong, they must be right. And that is not how that works. You can believe absolutely that you are right and still be wrong.
Everything you think you know. And here's why I'm asking this. Because if you could be wrong about everything you think you know, well, then
Yeah, and Zach B. Hancock. Sorry, I'm in a bit of an awkward place. I'm sort of interrupting the chats here. Hang on. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Neither was that. Oh, there we go. So Zach B. Hancock says, yes, could you? Are you going to be honest and say you could be wrong about everything you know? Could this be a simulation that we're in? Are you going to be honest? No, of course he's not. He's going to say, hey, because I've got God, I don't have to answer that. No, that's not how that works. How do you know your God is actually real? Because God said so, or the Bible said so. And how do you know the Bible's true? Because God. It's just a circular argument. I've been through this with Saiten Broggencate. He just gets to a circular argument. Like, how do you know God is telling you the truth? Because God. And how do you know that's true? Because God. It's a circular argument. And you know what he said? No, it's a spiral. It's not a... What?
Do you actually know it? I see people saying yes, obviously, yes. Yes, could be wrong. Okay, so yeah.
And who's that? Who's that rowdy little rapscallion over there? Sure, it doesn't mean they are wrong. Exactly. Just because you could be wrong doesn't mean you are wrong. Right?
You could be wrong about everything you think you know. That's what a true skeptic will say. Barbara Smoker, an atheist, said atheists don't claim to know anything with certainty. It's believers who think they know it all. Ha ha.
I would say absolute certainty. I think there's varying levels of certainty, and we've all experienced this before. We basically go, well, you know, I'm certain that there'll be, you know, traffic. There's going to be, you know, light traffic on the road kind of thing. Like, but it's not the certainty to say, hey, I'm certain the sky is blue. You know, we have varying levels of certainty that we give based upon the evidence that is presented to us. So, you know, if the traffic is usually light about this time every single day, you know, I can be fairly certain that it's going to be on this day. But that's not like the certainty that, you know, the world around me is real or something. It's sort of this black and white thinking from theists. They always do this black and white. Either you're absolutely certain or you don't know. And that's not how certainty works. Oh, hey, James. James Wolf in the house. Whoop, whoop. This isn't, yeah. No, it is presup. It is presup, James. It absolutely is. No, that's what it is. It's a presup apologetic, which you can see the look on Donnie's face. He's not a presupper as far as I know. He's an evidentialist. So, you know, it's kind of like this, this is not even good philosophy.
She's laughing at us. Michael Nugent, atheism does not require certainty. Strictly speaking, we can't be certain of anything.
Well, I would say absolutely certain. I think we can have certainty on things. I think we can have varying levels of certainty on things. But I think absolute certainty is probably what he would be referring to, like absolute confident certainty. Just because you have absolute certainty doesn't mean you're right either. Just because you are 100% absolutely cannot be wrong belief doesn't mean you're right. You've just convinced yourself you can't be wrong.
Okay. Well, let me share this. I did a debate with Alex Botten over in the UK. This was Alex Botten and Jim Gardner, along with Seisenberg and Kate and myself. And I asked Alex these three questions. And Alex said, I asked him, could you be wrong about everything you think you know? He said, I could be wrong about everything I think I know. Let me show you why this is powerful. Because those of you that said yes, this is...
Sorry, I thought I had my mind blown, Eric. I thought my mind was blown already.
Where it gets powerful. A couple days later, I threw something up on Twitter. And I said, hey, Alex, or no, I just threw something out there. I said, the truths of God are not a matter of belief or unbelief. They're a matter of acceptance or rejection.
Okay, so this is a presup thing. It's basically going, I presuppose God as the fundamental foundation of reality, or the foundation of coherence, or the moral foundation. So that putting him to exist is begging the question, right? You're begging the question. You're basically saying, I haven't demonstrated this, but I'm going to assume the truth of this statement automatically. Right. So basically, he's begging the question when he says it's a matter of acceptance or rejection. It's a presup thing. You know, it's basically saying, hey, God exists. You either accept it or reject it, instead of God either exists or doesn't exist. It's word games. That's all it is.
Alex, the guy that I just debated, chimed in on that conversation. He said that's fallacious.
Yes, it's fallacious. It's begging the question. Yes. Yes. You're begging the question. You're assuming the truth of a proposition without first demonstrating the truth of that statement. Yeah. That is begging the question. He's right.
I'm like, wait a minute. In our debate, Alex said he could be wrong about everything he thinks he knows.
Yes, but he doesn't believe he is. And that doesn't make what you said not fallacious. He could be wrong about everything he knows, and there could still be no God. Right? Right? This could be a persistent, in very convincing illusion around us. He's wrong about everything he knows, and there's still no God. Or you're wrong about the God that's there. It's actually, Brahma that exists and not your God. You're still begging the question, Eric. Like, just because he says he may be wrong about everything he knows doesn't give you carte blanche to make logical errors and just go, oh, but you could be wrong about everything you know. You're still begging the question, mate. Look, you could be begging the question and still be right that there's a God. Okay, so there's something called the fallacy. What it basically says is just because you made a fallacy in your reasoning doesn't mean that you're wrong. However, it does mean that your argument should be rejected, right? That's what he's saying. That's not a good argument because it relies on a violation of logic. In this case, begging the question, assuming something is true without demonstrating it. That's why he said that. You could still be right that there's a God and still make a logical fallacy. Everything Alex could know is wrong. You could be in a simulation and you would still be making a logical fallacy. It doesn't change that.
So what do I do in this position? Do I defend my statement or do I just remind Alex of his statement? So I just said, Alex, you could be wrong.
Yeah, it could be, but you're still making a fallacy. But, that's fallacious. You would have to basically throw the laws of logic out the window at that point, Eric. You would have to basically go, oh, well, the laws of logic don't hold then. I could be wrong about them. Then why are you using them? Why are you expecting him to use them? What are you doing, Eric? Like, seriously, he's like, you could be wrong about logic. Are you seriously throwing logic out the window now, Eric? Is that what you're doing? Okay. Explain to me why it's wrong without using logic. Go for it. I'd love to see that conversation. That's insane. That's insane. You're basically saying, well, you could be wrong about logic. Okay. You want to demonstrate that?
Once you say you could be wrong, you lose your ability to question anything anybody.
No, you don't. Because saying you could be wrong doesn't mean that you are. It's like if you get arrested by the police, right? And basically they're questioning you. You don't just say, well, you could be wrong. Oh, we've got this evidence. We've got your fingerprints on the weapon. Oh, but you could be wrong. Is that going to work for you? If you commit a crime and your fingerprints are all over the crime scene and your DNA is all over the crime scene and they're grilling you, well, you could be wrong. Is it logically impossible that you're wrong? No. Well, I'm going then. See how far that gets you. Like, dude, the idea that you could be wrong, the whole point is that you're not showing how he is wrong. You're just asserting that you are right. That's it. That's all you're doing. You're making a spurious, baseless claim with nothing to back it up except, oh, but there's a 1 in billions of chance that this is a simulation of some sort. I win. No, you don't. Because we both could be wrong. I could be wrong that there are no gods, and you could be wrong that it's the Christian God and it's actually frigging Buddha over there. Who knows? Like, this is the thing. And basically they get around this by saying, well, no, I can't be wrong. Yeah, you can. You just have convinced yourself you can't. And that's a dangerous position to be in.
He says, because if you could be wrong, that means you don't know. He goes, I could be, but so could you. And I'm not. I couldn't help myself on this one, guys.
Yeah, and he doesn't believe he's wrong. And you could be wrong as well, and he could be right. You could be wrong. I could be right. You ever think about that, Eric? You could be wrong. Yeah, and I could be right. Oh, you can't be right. Why not? Is it impossible that I'm right? Is that impossible? What laws of logic does it break? Why can't it be logically possible that I'm right? Why? Get them to explain that. What logical violation about me being right is there? And they'll go, oh, but God, no, you're begging the question. You're assuming God's existence. You are basically claiming that a God exists without demonstrating it first. That's the problem, and that's fallacious. And if you want to do away with logic and, sort of say, hey, I don't care about fallacies because it doesn't matter, well, you've thrown logic overboard. Why would I listen to a person that's thrown logic overboard? You have proved that you cannot think intelligibly. Sorry.
Contradicted himself in one tweet. So I had to point it out. Alex, you just contradicted yourself in one tweet, man.
No, he didn't. He didn't. That is fallacious. You could be wrong. I could be, but so could you. And I'm not. He's basically saying, I don't believe I am. He didn't contradict himself. Because is not the necessity that he is, Eric. Does not necessitate that he is. Oh my, it's just insane. Like, seriously, that he doesn't understand this is insane. Like, when you say, oh, you could be wrong, doesn't mean that you've demonstrated he is. You've said, hey, is there a logical impossibility that you're wrong? Yeah. But I don't believe I am, because I have all of this evidence backing me up. Oh, but you don't know for sure. You don't absolutely know. No, we have levels of confidence. And I am confident of that as I am of anything else that I live my life by. Wow. Look, dude, he wouldn't be able to spell fallibilism, Darren. Like, seriously. Seriously.
And like, I could be, but I'm not. Those don't go together.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. He believes he's not. It's just word games from you, Eric. This is nothing but word games. He doesn't believe he is. And so you could be wrong as well. Why aren't you addressing that? Is it logically impossible for you to be wrong? If so, why?
If you could be, you don't say I'm not. And if you're not, you don't say I could be. Those aren't logically consistent. Those don't go together. You don't use those in the same sentence, okay? Man, it's and this is where I get the frustration.
Yeah, this is a really uncharitable reading of his post. Really uncharitable, because he's basically going, I could be, but so could you, and I'm not, which is basically his belief statement. I understand what he's saying. And yeah, if you take that as, and it's impossible that I'm wrong, I could be, but it's impossible that I could be. Yeah, I get that. But basically he's saying, I believe that I'm right. Like, you're not, this is there, like this precept stuff is there. It's not to convince anybody on the atheist side, because it's so evident on how flawed it is. And generally it will push people away from Christianity. People will hear it and go, this is frigging nonsense all the time. And there's a reason why. It's because the irrationality of it is glaring, right? Just the sheer irrationality. Really, it's to convince yourself that you can't be wrong. That's what precept does first and foremost. It convinces believers that there is no possible way they can be wrong. Newsflash, that doesn't make you right. It just means you've convinced yourself you can't be wrong. That's all. And you're basically preying on people being honest about logical possibilities in order to unsettle them, basically. Say, well, I can't be wrong and you can be wrong, so I win. No, it doesn't. Because what the truth is independent of how strong we believe in it. Right? The truth will be the truth. What is reality? What comports with reality, to borrow a phrase from Matt Delahunty, is irrelevant to how strongly you think you are right and how strongly I think I'm right. I could be, sort of really wavering in the middle and say, hey, I'm pretty sure. And I could still be right. You are mixing ontology with epistemology, the reasons for why we believe something and the actuality of it. You are screwing it up, Eric. It's a terrible argument.
Some of you are going to come to the conclusion, give me just a second, I'll blow your mind. Come to the conclusion, yeah, well.
I thought my mind was blown already at how dumb this is. This is terrible.
It doesn't matter. And no, I still don't believe in God. And I don't know anything for sure. Okay, we'll get there. But you can't argue with Christians now. You have nothing to argue with us with. You have no.
Yeah, we do. What are you talking about, Eric?
Truth at this point. Question number 5, and then I'm going to come back to question number 4. Okay, question number 5. If I could prove God, and if you could answer this in the chat as well, I'd appreciate this. If I could prove God to your satisfaction, and I prove that God exists, would you worship him?
Well, it depends on the God. It really depends on the God. Like, I would definitely have some questions about, worms that burrow into children's eyes and stuff. I don't think, if it was the God of the Bible, absolutely not. The God of the Bible is a vengeful, unhappy, miserable. He's absolutely evil. Absolutely evil. Like, I wouldn't worship that God. If it was somehow a all-loving thing like you claim it to be, maybe, but it also depends on a lot of different things. Like what does the God want? What is the God? So no, I don't think necessarily yes, but I don't think necessarily no. I don't think so if it's the God of the Bible.
I'm getting back to question number 4. I get it. But answer this one, yes or no, in the chat. If I could prove God to your satisfaction, the God of the Bible,
for all I know, the God could just make me worship him. I wouldn't have a choice in it, for all I know. I mean, he changed the Pharaoh's mind and hardened his heart and stuff. He could just force me to worship. In that case, I would. A God could do that. So it depends on the God.
Would you worship him? I know my audio is not coming through in my sharing of my audio here, but if you could, I'd have you watch this video right here. This video is me at the Reason Rally. Let me just pause it. It's me at the Reason Rally asking a lot of famous atheists, if I could prove God to your satisfaction, would you worship him? All of them said no. No, they won't.
Yeah, they're usually talking about the God of the Bible, and that is one of the most, as I think Richard Dawkins put it, he's one of the most evil figures in all of fiction. He is horrible. A horrible, horrible entity that does horrible, horrible things, slaughters and destroys and does all kinds of horrible stuff. So no, not that God.
Oh, no, they won't. No, they won't. And I know that because that's what the Bible says. All they're doing is proving the Bible again. The Bible says the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness.
And how do you know that that's the truth? Because the Bible says. And how do you know the Bible is saying the truth? Because the Bible says. You see a problem here? No circular argument? Seriously. And how do you know that the God of the Bible is true? Because the Bible says. But that's where you go to precept and you're like, oh, we just presuppose God is the, foundation for all intelligibility. Okay, so you're begging the question. Still got a problem. What now? Oh, you go to the Bible. The Bible's true because the Bible says it's true. Ridiculous.
They've got the truth, but they're suppressing the truth. They're pretending that it's not true. Why? Because that which may be known of God is manifested in them. God has shown it to them. And this is where, again, all you're doing, skeptic, is fulfilling exactly what the Bible says. He says the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen.
I'm going to skip the Romans. Okay, so.
Okay, so every anti-God argument, let's destroy it right now. And here's the concept. If you could be wrong about something, then you can't claim that you know that it's true.
Okay, so here's the problem with what he's saying. Knowledge does not necessitate admitting a possibility that you're wrong. Okay, that does not, it isn't a thing. Okay, yeah, Donnie, this isn't Donnie's wheelhouse, Jessica. This is Donnie realizing that this is Sci-10 Broggenkate bullshit. Or at least I hope so. At least I hope he's intelligent enough to realize that. I really do. So let's look at knowledge and truth claims for a second. Let's just look at that for a second, and sort of get an idea of what we mean by saying, well, you're not absolutely confident. And I'm really thankful to that English guy. It wasn't the English guy. It was that Wi-Fi gospel that I debated. And no, I don't think he is. No, Donnie's never brought up a pre-sup argument. That's the thing. He always uses an evidentialist position as far as I'm aware. Like, I'll give him that, Andrew. He's never brought up a pre-sup argument to me. I'll at least pay that. So what you had, right, was and the example that he gave is that if you bought, like you're here, right, this is me, okay? You can tell by the no hair on the head, okay? And I buy a lottery ticket, right? And the lottery ticket basically it will have a result on it, okay? It'll have a result on it. Now, just say I know a lottery ticket has lots, but just say the winning number is 7, okay? And just say it's a huge number, okay? It's not important for this exercise, but basically it's a huge number. And I've got my lottery ticket here, and I'm happy because I bought my lottery ticket. Okay, that's important. So, you can basically say, and I'm using the example that Wi-Fi Gospel brought up, right, with these lottery tickets, because you can basically say that because of the amount of times people have lost the lottery, I can say with almost certainty that I don't have a winning ticket, right? I do not have a winning ticket because the chances of me winning are very, very slim. Okay, so I don't have a winning ticket. Okay, so I can say, I know I'm not winning. Okay, so basically I'm saying I know I'm not winning, right? You probably said it yourself. You picked up a raffle ticket or something and said, yeah, I know I'm not going to win, but that's okay. Like I know I'm not winning. Okay, so you can still, so if people say, well, can you justify that? Well, there's X million tickets or hundreds of thousands of tickets, just say it's the main lottery. It's millions of tickets, and I'm almost certainly going to lose, so I know that I'm not going to win, kind of thing. And then you say, but could you win? And you can say, yeah, it's possible. Well, I don't think I'm going to win. No, I don't think I'm going to win. That's that reason for the sad face. I don't think I'm going to win. Okay, I know I'm not going to win this lottery. There's so many tickets, right? So you can say, hey, it's possible that I could win, but I know I'm not winning, right? I know I'm not winning it. Now, you have a justified belief, because don't forget that knowledge is a subset of belief. So you have to believe it, and then knowledge is justified, is belief, which is not only justified, but also true. Okay, so an important element of whether that's knowledge or not, one of the criteria is that it's been justified. The other criteria is that it is in fact true. Okay? It is in fact true. Right, so with that in mind, we've got two scenarios here. Okay, so I'm just going to split the board. We've got two scenarios. Number one scenario is that I'm right. Okay, that the ticket here, when it gets spit out, is actually a 3. Oop, I'd use purple for that. Hold on one sec. So the first part, the justified part, is the percentage of win is the justification. So we'll call that sort of J. Low percentage of winning. It's almost impossible. That's why I justify that I'm not going to win, right? Fair enough, right? Like you could understand that a justification for you not winning the lottery is that it's 1 in billions. okay, or 1 in millions, depending on what you're playing, or 1 in hundreds of thousands, whatever your thingo, right? Like just that's the justification. So it's a justified belief that you're not going to win. The other one for knowledge is it true, right? So you have two possibilities. One is that it's some other number. I mean, it may be 3, it may not be. The other possibility is that it actually is the number, right? So in this case, that equals true, because not winning, I didn't win, that is not only justified and it's true, equals knowledge, right? I actually had the knowledge that I'm not winning because number one, I justified it, and number two, it is in fact true, right? Number two, when the ticket comes out, that is not true. So you only have justified but not true, right? So I guess plus not true, that's the not sign in electronics. I'm not sure if it is in logic, equals not knowledge. So in the second example where I'm wrong about not winning, okay, I realize you could swap that the other way and say winning and just switch these kind of things. But in that case, I actually don't have, I don't have knowledge. In that case, yeah, I'm justified in believing that, but it's not true. I claim to know that I'm not winning, but I'm actually wrong. I didn't have that knowledge at all because at that point, I didn't have the other component to it. What the actual components of the truth is, like whether it's actually true. And it is not true that I didn't win. I did in fact win. So therefore, when I made that claim, back when I made that claim, I didn't actually have knowledge of that. But just saying, hey, there could be a possibility that I win, but I don't think there is. It's highly unlikely. So I know I'm not winning. That's a knowledge claim, which is in fact, you didn't have that knowledge. But when it was in the top thing, when you didn't win, you actually did have that knowledge. It's justified and it's actually true. It is in fact true. So you did have knowledge that you were not winning. What the second part of knowledge is, it depends on if your proposition actually matches reality or not. It doesn't matter that you could be wrong. If you are justified and it is in fact true, then you have knowledge. So when you say, hey, I could be wrong about everything, right, and therefore I have no knowledge, I only have no knowledge if I am wrong about everything. That if this world is a convincing illusion, that if my senses are lying to me, if all of these things are wrong. And, and here's the thing that really pisses me off. Eric doesn't think that. Eric doesn't think his senses are all wrong and this is a permanent illusion. It's so silly. Like, it really is silly. He doesn't think that. He's not questioning that.
Okay, just basic concept. That should make sense to everybody.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Because if I can be wrong, like if I say, well, I know my wife's in the kitchen, I heard a sound from there. I could be wrong. It could be just a random thing falling because of wind, or, a cat got it. Who knows? There is possibility I could be wrong, but I would still say I know that my wife is in there because of the noise that I heard. That's the justification. And if I'm right and she is actually in there, then I did know, didn't I, Eric? So admitting that you can be wrong doesn't mean you have to relinquish all knowledge claims. Even if there's a slight possibility that you're not right. And Eric will do this himself for multiple different things. He'll say he knows the sky is blue. Could he be wrong? Yeah, but doesn't mean he is. That's the thing. He's just being really, really, really sort of black and white with his thinking. Like, if you can be wrong, then you must be wrong. And then you don't know. No, not at all. You can still know things even though you could be wrong. And it turns out you're right. That's the thing. when we make these knowledge claims, when we have these claims of knowledge, we're basically saying, hey, I think I'm right. If it turns out that you're wrong, then you didn't know. But if you're right, then you did know.
You could be wrong. You can't claim that you know it. Okay? Should be.
Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. And then we find out if it's true, right? And then you know if your knowledge claim is correct or not. What you want to do is say that God exists. If you claim you can be wrong, then you can't challenge me that that is the reality that we're in, so I am right. This argument is terrible.
Very, very, this is Logic 101 here. If I said the speed limit on the road
This is not Logic 101. This is, in fact, not Logic 101.
outside is 45 miles an hour, but I could be wrong. Do I know the speed limit on the road?
Yes. Yeah. If you say, I know the speed limit around here, it's 45 miles an hour, I could be wrong. They could have changed the signs and I didn't hear about it. But you can still claim to know. You can still say, hey, I know the speed limit is 45. If you go outside and it's still 45, then you did know, didn't you? You idiot. God, this is just the worst argument.
Well, no, because I said I could be wrong. If I said that the Willis Tower, formerly the Sears Tower in Chicago, is 1,000, I don't even know what it is, 1,571 feet tall, but I could be wrong. Do I know the height of the Willis Tower in Chicago? No, because I...
Yes. If you're right. If you said, hey, I read it somewhere, but it has to be justified. If you're just taking a random wild ass guess, then no, you're not. That's not knowledge because it has to be justified. But he's conflating kind of this, oh, I could be wrong, with this, oh, well, there is a logical possibility that I could be wrong. It's not, like he's presenting it as in, oh, well, I think that the height of the tower is this much, but I'm not sure. With, okay, the world would have to be a literal illusion for me to be wrong about everything. It's so wild. Like that he puts those on a par. And this is the black and white thinking. If he's not absolutely confident, then he doesn't know. So do you know that your wife's cheating on you or not cheating on you, Eric? Is it a possibility? Could she be? Oh dear, then you don't know. Wow.
Said I could be wrong. And if I could be wrong, I can't claim that I know what it is. Okay. So if you could be wrong, you don't really know. Simple, right?
Simple and fallacious. It's black and white thinking because we have levels of certainty. We have this, well, I don't really know. I would guess that it's this, that kind of certainty, which I wouldn't even say is real knowledge. That's just an estimation or a guess or, just a belief. Knowledge is where you say, yes, I know this to be the case. And that's a much higher level of certainty. So you're basically putting on par the belief in something or the casual belief in something with a high level of certainty, which is wrong because you only think in black and whites. You only think in absolute knowledge and no knowledge at all. You only think in these two things. And it's a problem because life isn't and reality isn't like that. We have varying levels of confidence in things. That, hey, I'm really confident that my senses describe reality around me is not the same as, well, I think my wife might have gone out today. I can't be sure. What the hell?
Out of all the knowledge in the universe, out of everything there is to know about everything, out of all of earth science, all of astronomy, all of chemistry, all of biology, what the fleas have done on all the animals throughout all the time.
Okay, so why is there a flat earth argument going on in my chat? Hold on a sec. Seriously? I thought flat earth was over since the final experiment. Like that basically just put it to rest, didn't it? Like, has anyone explained the 24-hour sun? Go for it. Knock yourself out, chat. Is he Sith? Yeah, which is funny because like only Sith deal in absolutes. He said absolutely.
And not just right now. We're talking all knowledge throughout all of history. So all of historical knowledge, where every squirrel has buried every nut, out of everything there is to know about everything, how much knowledge do you think you have?
Less than 1%. And this is I saw this on a YouTube, and it was just as bad on this YouTube thing. Like, but how much knowledge do you have, Eric? Do you have? Because if you're putting knowledge up against mine, I'm pretty sure I know more about evolution than you do. I'm pretty sure of that. And damn sure I know more about abiogenesis than you do.
Put a number on it. Put a percentage on it. Out of everything there's no about everything in the whole universe, how much knowledge do you think that you have? Keep in mind, Thomas Edison, the great inventor, said we do not know 1/1,000,000th of 1% of anything at all.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, we probably don't even know how much we don't know. That's the thing. Like, because if we don't know all of the things to know, how can we put a percentage on what we don't know of what we don't know? It's a self-refuting statement.
I'm like, okay, like I think everybody would agree. I mean, unless somebody's out there with a whole lot of pride, 12%. Yeah, right. Okay, not much. This is
God. He sounds more and more like Ken every time I'm letting him run, isn't he? Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Buy my DVDs.
sad. What's sad is a skeptic typing this is sad instead of listening to this going, okay, I want to seek to understand. You don't want to understand. Think about this. And I really want you to get this. If we even gave you, Mr. Skeptic or Mrs. Skeptic, and we said, out of all the knowledge in the universe, let's pretend that you think that you've got 1% of all the knowledge in the universe.
Oh, absolutely, Darren. And my drop bear knowledge is hardcore. Hardcore. Yeah, no, I've seen this before, and it is the dumbest thing ever. You can see, like, Donnie's like, oh no.
My question. Is it possible that something in the 99% of the stuff that you don't know could contradict the 1% that you think that you do know?
Yes.
You would have to say yes.
Yes.
That's possible that something in the 99% that I don't know could out there potentially contradict the 1% that I think that I do know.
Is there possible something of the 99% that you don't know, Eric, contradicts the 1% of knowledge you think you have? Back at you. What about you?
Oh, yeah, that's possible. That's logic. That's basic logic, which means you could be wrong about that 1%, which means you could be wrong about everything you think you know.
And you could be wrong about everything you think you know. Wow, this is just, rules for thee and not for me. I don't understand why he's not applying this to himself. You don't know either, Eric.
Which is the whole point of me asking, could you be wrong? Question number 4, could you be wrong about everything you think you know? And several of you said, yes, could be wrong. Obviously, could be wrong. If you could be wrong about it, then you can't claim to know it to be true. You can't claim to know anything to be true. I could be wrong about everything I think I know equals you don't know anything.
No, that's not true. That's only if you are in fact wrong about everything you think you know, right? So, for instance, if my senses are like correctly analyzing stuff, then I'm not wrong about everything I think I know, right? If my what I've been taught in school is actually correct and accurate, then I'm not wrong about everything I know, right? If math works out, I'm not wrong about everything I know. Like, this is the thing. You can't just assume because someone could be wrong about everything they know that they are. And they only don't know it if they are in fact wrong. And you're skipping to that without actually proving that they're wrong about everything. Because if they have a justification, i.e. they learnt all of this stuff based upon science, and they are in fact correct, then they do know, Eric. They do know. And you're skipping that entirely. Well, yeah, we could be right about everything. And if I thought I was wrong about everything, not just the possibility in some far-fetched, conceivable, logically possible world, but in actuality, right? And this is where he's messing up possibility with actuality again. If I think I'm actually wrong, I wouldn't claim knowledge about it. I don't even claim knowledge when I think there's a significant chance in that I'm wrong about things. Yeah, this is a Seitan Bruggencate argument. It's so bad. Like, it gets him laughed out of everywhere. It really is bad.
You don't know anything. And some of you are like, yeah, that's right. We don't know anything. Guys.
No, we're not absolutely confident about everything. We don't have absolute knowledge. So the difference between knowledge and absolute knowledge is that absolute knowledge, you can't be wrong. right? There is no possible, it is impossible to be wrong. That is absolute knowledge. And Eric is conflating knowledge, where you have a justification and it is a true belief, with absolute knowledge, which is the inerrancy of something. So he's conflating those two things. He's not actually being honest here. You know, surprise, surprise. He's not being honest. He's using a really bad, really sort of conflationary, illogical argument. It's awful.
This lands us in absurd. It's logical to come to this conclusion, but it lands us in absurdity world. It is absurd to say, I don't know anything. Or the one thing I know is that I don't know anything. Because that very statement is something that you claim to know. I know that I don't know anything.
Yeah, but we're not talking about absolute certainties, Eric. That's the thing. I know things. If it turns out I'm wrong, then I didn't know them. This is the thing. He wants to be able to access reality without going through any justification or epistemology or reasoning behind it. He wants to just go, well, I can access directly what reality is. No, you can't, Eric. Nobody can. Everybody has to filter it through their senses and reason and logic and have, because it is justified true belief. Not only has it need to be justified, but it's also in fact true. And if this world is an illusion, then it's not, you know, I didn't have that knowledge. Sure, prove this world is an illusion and I will roll with that. Go for it. But until that time, epistemology holds. Our best justification for things are what we should follow. Holy crap.
And there's only one way out of this. And guys, I'm going to help you. This will blow your mind. If you actually get this, this will blow your mind. Because everything I've done is just simple, basic logic.
Fallacious logic. Go ahead.
If you could be wrong, then you don't really know. If you could be wrong about everything you think you know, that means you don't know anything.
No, that does not follow. That does not follow. If you could be wrong about everything, then you have knowledge about the things you are right about. Because we could be right. That's the thing. You're saying, hey, we could be wrong. Yeah, but we could be right. I could be right about everything. And then I would know it. You've got to show that it's wrong, not just the possibility exists, but to show that it's wrong, to show that I don't have knowledge about it. This is ridiculous.
The only way to have knowledge, the conclusion you got to come to, is you would have to know everything in order to know anything at all.
Okay, so you don't know anything. So you don't know anything, Eric, because you don't know everything.
You would have to have all knowledge so that you know you cannot be wrong about anything. Or you just have to know someone who knows everything.
Yeah, but you still don't get the knowledge. You don't get God's knowledge. That's ridiculous. It's basically saying, hey, if I have a friend that knows everything, then I know everything. It doesn't work like that, Eric. If I have a friend that knows everything about nuclear physics, I don't just get that knowledge. You still don't know. You still don't know everything. Why knowing somebody that knows everything gives you that knowledge? Because you still don't know everything. And he's begging the question that this person exists in the first place. Like, show that you actually have access to this knowledge. Again, like, just answer my questions on nuclear physics. If you know someone who knows everything and therefore can access that information and know things, then answer my questions on nuclear physics, because you should be able to answer them if you have access to somebody that knows everything. No, you don't want to do that? Yeah, I wonder why.
And the someone who knows everything can reveal truth to you.
Oh, he reveals everything to you, does he, Eric? Everything. Why are your arguments so bad then? Why are these arguments terrible? He reveals everything. Everything. Wow. Okay, apparently Eric is omniscient. Who knew? Who knew?
And that's exactly what God has done.
Yeah, no such thing. God has done no such. He has not revealed everything to you. Everything, Eric. Think about what you just said. Everything. Oh, boy.
And while you sit there with a smug look on your face, typing away on your little keyboard going,
Well, I mean, I'm not smug. I'm quite frustrated because for someone claiming to know everything, you should know that I'm not typing on a keyboard, Eric. So we can say that you don't know everything. God hasn't revealed everything to you. You absolutely have the same level of knowledge as everybody else out there. So by your own logic, you don't know anything. Because look at your top statement. You would have to know everything in order to know anything. Or you must know someone who knows everything. Why? And your claim that he's revealed everything to you so you have that knowledge is false because I'm not typing on my keyboard, mate. You are wrong. Sorry, that's your argument's just been shot down.
I'm going to teach him. I don't know anything. All you're doing is showing your own absurdity. No, we're not saying we don't know anything. We're saying we could. There is a logical possibility that we could be wrong about everything we know, but we don't think we are. And you would have to show that, like, for instance, this world is an illusion, or, that my senses are not real. And considering you're requiring me to use my senses to listen to you, good luck with that. Doing is showing that you can't follow logic 101, which is a gift from God anyway. It's a reflection.
I can't follow logic 101. And it's a gift from God. Aristotle was the original, laid down the laws of logic. It wasn't God. It was Aristotle. And he didn't even believe in the Christian God. I mean, not that I know of, but seriously, that was in ancient Greek days, again, before Christianity whatsoever. So no, they didn't come from a God.
The way God thinks. And you're willing to suppress the truth so far that you're going to say, we don't know anything at all, and I know that. That's absurdity world.
I didn't say we don't know anything at all. We make claims to knowledge based upon the evidence that we have with varying levels of certainty. That's what we do. So I can be really certain that my senses are describing the world around me. I can be really certain that, hey, the sky is blue kind of thing. So I know that. If it turns out that I'm wrong and my senses are lying to me and the sky is green, then I didn't have that knowledge at all. But, when I claim knowledge, just saying, hey, there's a possibility in some magical place that you could be wrong, so therefore you don't know it. That's childish. That is a child's argument. Could you imagine that? You're in at the police, they've got your fingerprints, they're all over the room, your DNA's all over the room. But could you be wrong? Could this all be just a huge coincidence? Well, yeah, it could be. Oh, well, then you've got to let me go because you don't know anything. Wake up, Eric. Wake up. A possibility that you're wrong about everything does not make it so. You have to show that. And that's how we do it. Someone says, hey, I know I'm the greatest pool player in the history of the sport. And someone goes, okay, well, I'll show you that you're not. Beats him at pool in, 2 breaks or whatever. Seriously, this is how we do. So then, he knows he's not the greatest player. You know he's not the greatest player because it's not the truth. Aye. By the way, I did challenge Eric Hovind to a debate. Donnie said it'd be great, fantastic idea. I did not hear a thing, but I definitely challenged him to a debate on this stream because I was on that stream. I was in the chat on that stream. I don't mean appearing on the stream, but I was in the chat and he does not want to debate me. So boo, Eric. You should stand up and debate if you feel so strongly about it.
The only way to have knowledge is to know everything, which would make you God, or to know somebody who does know everything. Now,
which would make me God? But if you don't have the knowledge, then you can't claim to know everything, and therefore you don't know anything according to your own logic, Eric. The knowing someone that knows doesn't solve that problem, right? That you have to, because if he's not sharing the knowledge, you don't have squat.
I'm not sitting here saying you don't know anything. You're the one saying that. I think I'm telling you, you know lots of things. No,
nobody's saying we don't know anything. What we're saying is there's a possibility we could be wrong. So it has 2 parts to knowledge, justified and true. It's basically saying, well, there's a possibility that the true part is wrong, that part is wrong. But it's the justification that we have. And if you think that the true part is wrong or the justification is insufficient, then you should talk about that, not play word games.
I don't. Did you just type, no, I don't? You know, did you actually, are you sitting at that computer right now? I don't really know. Do you know that you don't really know? I mean, you can just infinite regress this and I can keep saying, do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? Do you know that? And
yeah, the funny thing is that when you ask them how they know God is real, it just turns into a circular argument. Because God said, because God said, because God. You're
going to have to come to, I don't know anything at all. And when I ask, do you know that you don't know anything? You're going to have to say, no, I don't even know that. Which means you could know that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's absurd.
I know what you mean, Jessica. It's kind of like even people that have no knowledge of philosophy just go, this is bullshit. Like they get instinctively, like intuitively, sort of that it's a really bad argument. Even Christians that, you know, don't do philosophy, they'll hear precept and go, this is really wrong, because it just isn't insanely bad. Like precept doesn't exist in philosophical circles. Like you won't get people doing philosophy in a university, maybe in one of the ones that sort of do theology and apologetics, but most of them do not like precept doesn't even get on their radar. You know, it really doesn't. It is a non-philosophy, because all you are doing is begging the question, basically saying, hey, we're going to presuppose God exists for some reason and then assume that you're right. It is dogmatic assertion. It is assertion, and then the dogma comes from saying, and I can't be wrong, which we know that an assertion that you can't be wrong isn't the reality that you can't be wrong.
It's contradictory. It'd be like me trying to, it's what they call a self-refuting statement. If I said, I don't believe in words, my statement, I don't believe in words, contradicts my statement, I don't believe in words. I don't speak in English. My statement refutes that, because I just did.
Yeah, and this is a Tie 10 Broggencate thing as well. And it doesn't follow. It's basically, oh, is there truth? You know, it sort of, it is the you know, it's sort of, it doesn't really follow. It basically is like, if you only deal in absolutes like the Sith, it works, but we don't deal in absolutes, right? Can you be absolutely certain of anything? No. Are you absolutely certain of that? No. But they say, are you certain of that? And I'm saying, yeah, I'm certain of that. Oh, well, see, you can have certainty. I didn't say you couldn't have certainty. I said you couldn't have absolute certainty, right? Can you have absolute knowledge? No. Do you know that? Yes. Oh, look, you've got absolute knowledge. No, I've got knowledge. I'm not saying it's absolute. It's the important part there is absolute, which means that it is knowledge that cannot possibly be wrong, right? That's the important part he misses out.
The statement, I don't know anything at all, refutes the statement.
Yeah, divine command theory, yeah, but that's more of a moral system kind of thing. I don't, you know, maybe it'll touch sort of on the idea of precept, but it won't even, you know, like I get what you're saying. It's really tangential to precept. Yeah.
I don't know anything at all. It's absurdity. Guys, the only way to know anything is to have revelation from the one who knows everything.
How? Because you could be wrong about that revelation. So how did you escape being wrong about that revelation? Oh, because it's revealed to me. Yeah, but you could be wrong about the revelation, Eric. How do you know that you are not wrong about the revelation and that you don't have knowledge from one who knows everything? How do you know that? Because if you're not getting that knowledge from the one that knows everything, then you don't have that knowledge. You only think you do. You could be wrong about it. Here's the fatal flaw in Saitem Broggenkate's and Eric's thing. It is, if you are wrong about that, then you don't have a revelation from someone that knows everything, and therefore you do not have knowledge. Oh, but I can't be wrong. Why not? Oh, because I have a revelation from God. Yes, but if you're wrong about that, you don't have the revelation from God. That's the problem. Oh, but I have the revelation from God. Not if you're wrong about it. Like, this is the thing that they always screw up, the possibility of being wrong. Now, their answer to this, how they get around this, is they say, I can't be wrong. Because it's God, special pleading, I can't be wrong. Why? Because if it's not God, you can be wrong. But I can't be. And all they do is convince themselves that they can't be wrong. And that validates itself. But there's no reason, there's no justification for you can't be wrong. There's no justification at all. So they're in a bind because they basically have, all they do is never admit they could be wrong and they think they're right. What does that sound like? It's delusion. It's delusion. If I never admit that I'm wrong, I must be right. If I never admit that something I've said is wrong, then I must be right. That is delusional, because whether something's right or wrong has nothing to do with your beliefs. It's whether it matches the referent, what you're referring to.
And that's exactly what God has given to us. You want proof of God? Easy. Without God, the one who knows everything, we can't know anything.
Yeah, that is the worst logic. This is why precept never makes it into, because it is the worst logic and hinges upon you convincing yourself that you can never be wrong. That's essentially what it hinges on, because as soon as you open the possibility of you being wrong, then it's possible that you don't have a revelation, that you're wrong about it, and your entire argument falls apart. So what they've got to do is just again and again convince themselves that they can't be wrong. Why can't you be wrong? Because I've got a revelation from God. Yeah, but if you're wrong about that, then you don't. But I'm not wrong. Why? Because I've got a revelation from God. It's a circular argument. It just leads to a just circle of, well, I'm not wrong because of revelation, and revelation because I'm not wrong. Or as Saitem Bruggenkate said to me, it's a spiral. Yeah, a downward spiral, mate. It's a circular argument.
And you're like, that's right, we don't know anything. Well, that's it.
But that's what's supposed to blow our minds, apparently.
Knowledge.
I think I've had enough. I'll just see if there's anything. Oh, yeah. I included a question from me here.
And
so just proving I was there in that chat to give them a hard time.
Pushing it down and pushing it away. Jesus.
A solid mix of skeptics and non-skeptics. Eric, we've had a lot of engagement and interaction in the chat. And here's a skeptic. Again, we appreciate our skeptics. We're here.
So just for backtext, someone was sort of saying, hey, he desires you to believe in him and follow him and stuff like that. And I said, well, if he desires something, why doesn't he do anything about it? Look, I've never got a contact from this person. Why is he just staying radio silent? Come on now.
To plant seeds and offer you the truth. And so Mark Reed,
yeah, those seeds turned out to be a weed, Donnie. I'm sorry. Those seeds you planted, time to uproot them, because seriously, they're just weeds. There's nothing worth growing there, mate. Absolutely not. And I think Donnie knows, like, seriously, this is just stupidity. I just, like, this is pre-sup bullshit. Like, quite frankly, it is. When you actually drill down to it, all it is the pre-sup basically saying, I can't be wrong about this. That's all it is. And that is just delusion. Like, they're just convincing themselves.
This was based on what you were saying at the end of your presentation, Eric. If he desires.
Well, that is true, B.S. Lewis. That is absolutely true. Yeah, no, I get you. It is true. Because pre-sup is like, I mean, it drives other Christians away because it's so terrible. It's awful. It drives people because it's so nonsensical.
Something. Why doesn't he do anything about it? Okay.
And it only appeals to people that sort of are either fundamentalist or very, very stringent believers already. Like, it only appeals to them who basically are like, oh, well, I know I'm not wrong. to the average Christian, it's like, it just seems like arrogance, because it kind of is. When you start saying, hey, I cannot be wrong about this, it is arrogance.
I want to mention a couple things, and Eric will let you, land the plane, hit a home run on this. And so, well, firstly, 2,000 years ago, did he not send his only son?
Well, yeah. So what they're preying on, Baron Milo, is that sort of something called hard solipsism, the idea that it could be possible that this world is a simulation. I think the Matrix, right? We've all seen this in the Matrix, right? That the world around us isn't the real world. So in that real world, not the simulation, math could work completely differently, right? So is there that logical possibility? Well, yeah, there's nothing saying that this is just a convincing illusion is illogical. And then they've taken that to mean, well, then you don't know anything. No, absolutely not. It is such a I think Tenebris Sense said it earlier. It's a non sequitur, and it kind of is. Yeah, I kind of absolutely think it is. I think it was Tenebris Sense that said it. I was going to highlight it, and I didn't. Sorry, Tenebris. I really apologize, but yeah, it is a non sequitur. It doesn't follow.
Jesus Christ to die on the cross for our sins, that we can be saved. God also uses preachers, soul winners, and evangelists. And what are we doing here today?
And they all disagree, Donnie. And they all disagree.
Eric, we're giving you the information necessary to hopefully repent and trust, as you said, Eric.
Oh, so that's God doing something about it. That's God doing it. I don't see God in this podcast anywhere. I don't see God doing anything. I see some bad arguments from a pre-supper and who I hope is an evidentialist. I mean, and not Donnie's arguments, but he's presenting the show. But I don't see a God anywhere. And if this is the best arguments a God can come up with, I'm worried at the omniscience of this God. If pre-sup well, in order to know anything, you've got to know somebody that knows everything, and I can't be wrong about God. That's the best arguments you can come up with. That God sucks. That's not a God. That's a man argument. That shows all the hallmarks of a man argument: irrational, illogical, has multiple fallacies. That is not a omniscient God argument. I'm sorry, it isn't.
What are your thoughts on this question?
Yeah, the question assumes that he hasn't done anything, and the reality is he does things every single day. He lets your heart beat another day.
Not everybody, apparently. Not everybody. What? He lets your heart beat every single day. Really? So if I have a heart attack, I know who to blame. I know who to blame, Eric. Wow. What the hell? God lets you know he exists by letting your heart beat. What? Are you serious? That's the best an omnipotent, omniscient God can do. The all-powerful master of the universe makes my heart beat. WTFs in the chat, please. That's his evidence. I feel like it's even worse than look at the trees, quite frankly. I
mean, every breath in your lungs.
Oh, no. Yeah, fuck that God guy. Why didn't he keep your cat's heart beating? God damn. Yeah, no, I think there's a whole load of nerves and, electrical impulses and stuff doing that. I'm not sure where the God's involved. Maybe he has angels jumping on my chest every second of every day. What is this man talking about?
Lungs is a gift from God. Like, he can take away that breath at any moment. You're like, oh, it's a scare tactic. No, I'm just telling you, he is all powerful. He is all knowing.
Yeah, and the best he can do is have a natural function of my body work and then suddenly stop one day. That's the best he can do. Wow. Tenebris, I love the way you think. What if you have a pacemaker? You are defying God with your heathen heart machine. Heretics. Well, that's it. Grab your pitchforks and torches, people. We've got some seniors to get off pacemakers. It's defiance of God's will.
God didn't create you, Mark, as a robot. He didn't say,
how do you know? How do you know? I could be a robot. You don't know.
hey, I'm going to create Mark, and I'm going to demand that he honor me with his life. He said, I'm going to give Mark the choice.
Yeah, no, but he'll give me the choice, but he won't give me evidence. Like, it would be so easy for the all-power creator of the universe to convince everybody tomorrow that he existed. Hell, my frigging pen pal can convince me they exist. Why can't a god do so? Ridiculous.
You get the freedom to choose. You want to live your life? Do you want to do my thing, or do you want to do your thing? Because you don't get more glory, Mark, than when you release something, when you free something, and it decides to come back. It wants to come back. Seriously. Like my children. So tonight, I'm having a family dinner in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, so I hid from my wife and pretended I wasn't there, because there's nothing more freeing than convincing her I don't exist so she believes in spite of the evidence. No, there's nothing more freeing than that. What are you talking about?
And my kids are going to come over to the house with their spouses, and we're going to enjoy a family dinner.
Did you invite them? Did you invite them, Eric? Like, you're saying, hey, my kids are going to come over for the family dinner. Yeah, you invited them, right? Did you invite them? Did you go to them and ring them up and say, hey, come over for the family dinner? So you're capable of doing something that God isn't. Gotcha.
They don't have to. They want to. It doesn't bring me it's like the most pleasure I can get is when they want to come spend time with mom and dad.
Okay, well, now I really worry about your sex life, sir. I really do. If your kid's coming over is the most pleasure you can get, I have questions. I have big questions. But this is a terrible analogy because, you know, his kids, which are sort of, as far as I understand it, he's kind of grown in their own families. He's going to ring them up and say, hey, guys, come over to my place for dinner. Like, God isn't doing that. He has an old book that has been translated and compiled and you know, redone and has multiple versions that he's spread out with a whole bunch of people making a whole bunch of claims like, oh, the dinner's at this person's house. No, the dinner's at that person's house. You know, just making a whole bunch of different claims. And instead of sorting it out, he's sitting in his place going, well, I mean, I know my kids are confused, but if they don't find the right house, I'm going to take them to the basement and torture them. Seriously? Seriously? That's your analogy. Oh, I invited my kids over and they came over. Yeah, but that's not the analogy for what we're seeing in the world. What we're seeing in the world is a whole bunch of people saying that the dinner is at a whole bunch of places. And if we don't pick the right dinner, that you're going to take your kids into the basement and torture them for eternity because they picked the wrong place.
And that's the same thing for God. The most pleasure God can get is when we want to search out him, when we want to seek out his ways. And all you're doing right now, Mark, if you're a skeptic, and I'm assuming that, all you're doing right now is...
You assumed correctly. Do you know that? Do you know that? Could you be wrong? Sorry, just
saying, man, no, thanks, God. I'll do it my way. And he goes, okay, I'm a gentleman. You don't have to.
Yeah, no, thanks. But I don't think I'm talking to a God. I think I'm talking to a person who believes in the God, who's telling me it's real. And I'm saying, hey, what's the evidence that it's real? And you're saying, well, look, if you don't know everything, you don't know anything. And I know somebody that knows everything. So I do know. Get out of here, man. Like, seriously.
There's consequences, man, but you don't have to. And again, you're going to think that's a scare tactic. No, if I say, don't jump off that building, you're going to die when you hit the ground. That's not me threatening you. That's me warning you of the consequences to come. And when somebody goes to hell, it's not because, oh, Jesus sent them to hell. It's because of their sin against a perfect and holy God that wasn't covered. So, Mark, I tell you, man.
And who makes those rules? Oh, God. That's funny. Funny that, you know. Who makes the rules that when you fall, you die when you hit the ground? Oh, God did that? Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, no, I get it. The whole hell thing, this is really funny because I cannot express how unscared I am by his claims of afterlife punishment. I cannot tell you how little it scares me. Someone might as well say, hey, Santa's going to give you some coal if you don't behave. What are you, 3? Like, I cannot express to you how unthreatened by that I am. I'm going to base what I believe on the evidence, not on fear, right? Because whether or not you're saying, hey, this could happen, or this is going to happen if you do this, and it's not my fault, even if you're doing that or not, you're still trying to use fear to convince people of something. It is an appeal to emotion. You're basically saying, hey, but this is really scary. No, I don't base what I believe on fear or what I want to be true. Wishful thinking, like you do as well. Like, oh, it would be nice if there's a heaven. Makes no difference to whether there is or not. No difference whatsoever. Okay, that's not what I base my beliefs on. I try to base my beliefs on the evidence given, not like, and this shows how sloppy this man's thinking is. Oh, but it's really awful if there's a hell. Why should I believe there is? Because it's bad? Con artists do this all the time. Oh, but if you miss out, it'll be horrible and you'll be wishing that you did this. Yeah, I don't base what I do based upon feeling like I'm FOMO or, it's going to be great if there is a Nigerian prince. No, these are terrible ways to reason.
He did. He created this universe. He gave all this evidence, all this information to you. He put fossils around the world to remind you of his judgment. Fossils don't form under normal conditions.
Fossils don't form under normal conditions. We know what conditions fossil form under. I'm not sure what you mean by normal. Like, they form fossils do form under normal conditions. They are rare, but they form. We know how mineralization works. We know how fossilization works. It's not a miracle, Eric. It's a process. It requires certain things like things like still water that isn't churned kind of stuff. It requires certain sediments and, layering. It's not a freaking fossil fairy going around putting them there. What is normal circumstances? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm about done. I just wanted to show that I was actually in the stream.
Pride.
Yeah, no, nothing like pride that you think you've got, a friend who is the all-powerful creator of the universe and he chose you as his special people. Yeah, nothing prideful about that. Nothing prideful about that. Yeah, so that's about it. That is Eric Hovind doing a remarkable impression of Saiten Broggencate. Amazing people, amazing. But yeah, hilarious at the same time. Like, those arguments are so bad. Like, they are so bad. Most of them would get you laughed off of. They're bad even for pre-sup. That's the thing. Like, a lot of these pre-sups, they're a bit more crafty about it. He isn't. And they're very easily refutable arguments. It is absolutely wild that, if that Eric Hovind has now gone the pre-sup thing. If you haven't discovered Deconstruction Zone, I invite you to come. Justin does D-Types live stream Wednesday, Friday, Sunday evenings. Okay. Well, Sunday I'm usually watching Bad Science Sunday, if anything. Wednesday evenings, I should be able to show up there occasionally, and Friday evenings. Okay, I'll certainly check it out, Tenebris. Yeah, I'll certainly check it out. I wasn't. I'm the last to hear about anything, mate. But yeah, that is some damn awful pre-sup right there. And the fact that it's coming from Eric Hovind, who's got no background and as far as I knew, he had no interest in philosophy. Yeah. Oh yeah, the chatlings. The chatlings are definitely the draw. That's why I'm here. It is for chat. Don't get a big head about this, chat, okay? I'm here for you, but don't get a big head about it. But anyway, I mean, I found that it's something that's going around at the moment. And I have kind of an unorthodox, I guess I don't usually approach Precept the same way that other people approach Precept. I think I've got a good way to approach it. I think that sort of presuppositions and sort of these axioms that we use to establish our world and the idea of what knowledge is, I think I've got a good handle on. I think I've got some good counter arguments for them. So I do like getting these out here. And I have heard people use some arguments that I've used before in the past, and that's really great to see. I enjoy seeing when an argument I've used, I don't know, like arguments, sometimes it's sort of concurrent evolution. Like you'll argue something and somebody came up with the same conclusion because rationality should get you to the same conclusion. I totally understand why somebody comes up with the same argument I does. I totally understand that. But you know, it's always good to see that somebody has reached the same conclusion you have. That hey, knowledge doesn't, just because you could be wrong doesn't mean you don't know something. If you are wrong, then you don't know it. That's true. But could be, no, it doesn't mean you are wrong. It doesn't necessarily follow. So, yeah. So that's how I handle precepts. That's how I handle their nonsense. And, you know, they're not really taken seriously anywhere. But then again, people who disbelieve evolution aren't taken seriously anywhere either. So, you know, there's that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. It's been absolutely fantastic. What have I got coming up? I do have, today's Friday, so I do have I should have a debate on my Sunday, your Saturday night, if you're in the Eastern States. I'm still waiting to hear back. I don't see it up on MDD. I'm a bit worried about what happened to it. So I kind of, yeah, what the hell? But yeah. I'll see how it turns out. I'll see how it turns out. And beyond that, I should be back. Always happy to debate. Eric, debate me. Debate me. If you're so good at Precept, if you're the Precept, you know, man now, debate me. I'll debate Precept. Why not? I'll do it. I mean, it can't be any worse than the English man. It can't be any worse than EB3, because seriously, that was pain. That was pain. How bad his arguments are. That was sheer agony. It was wild. But yeah, do take care, everybody. Thank you, Human Girl. It's really good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. No problem at all. Not complaining. Just fantastic to see you. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind. You don't have to know everything. That's fine. If you don't know everything, it still means you know stuff. You know the stuff that you know. You don't know the stuff that you know, and you don't know what it is that you don't know. So, you know, be kind to yourself. Be kind to each other. Oh, don't work too hard. Be kind to yourself. Do you know Australia passed a right to disconnect? Basically, you're not allowed to contact staff outside of their working hours and get them to do shit. It's fantastic law. Just an awesome, the amount of stuff I have done for free in my life, in my career, is incredible. And now I have the right to say, hey, if you're not paying me for it, I'm not going to do it. I have that right. Amazing, right? Awesome. All right, peeps. Take care. See you in the next one.
This old switchboard could talk. Wow. Your ears would sizzle. 1880. We take Alexander Graham Bell's invention for granted today. Perhaps we should. But isn't it incredible that millions and millions of people can talk simultaneously to practically any spot on Earth?